Chapter 1740. What Yun Jian had said was enough to shock everyone present, and it was enough for Xian to kill her. Not only did Xian not kill her, but what puzzled Xiangjiari, Hu Yiru, and the others was that Xian actually gave Yun Jian a chance. He let her kill his right-hand man 025, so that the position of 025 would be given to Yun Jian. This was far beyond what everyone present could bear. The girl just wanted to escape, but she was mercilessly shot dead by Xian. Now, Yun Jian was directly pointing at Xian's nose and asking the leader of the Soul Devourer to come out. And Xian actually gave Yun Jian a chance. But what surprised everyone present was that Yun Jian did not want such a great opportunity. What she wanted was Xian's position. No. She wanted to destroy the Soul Devourer. The Soul Devourer. This was an assassin organization. And Yun Jian wanted to destroy an assassin organization. Did she know what she was doing? Just as everyone sucked in a sharp breath, Yun Jian, who was right in front of them, was already sprinting toward Xian Jin. Xian did not expect Yun Jian to want to kill him. His face suddenly changed, and he wanted to dodge Yun Jian's fatal blow in an instant. So fast. This young girl. Her movements are so fast. Is she originally a professional assassin? Her speed is so fast that I can't even see it with my naked eyes. A boy exclaimed in disbelief. He was dumbfounded, and his mouth was wide open, unable to close for a long time. Oh my God! Just as the boy's mouth was wide open, and he was so shocked that words could not describe it, a voice louder than the boy's came out. Right after that, everyone turned to look at Yun Jian. Perhaps it was because the boy who spoke last spoke louder than the rest. Yun Jian flashed by like a phantom, and at this time, Xian's pupils shrank. Xian was not for show. The moment Yun Jian flew towards him, he instantly dodged Yun Jian's powerful blow. Just as Xian was about to dodge Yun Jian's powerful blow, something happened that made everyone present go crazy. They saw that Yun Jian's trajectory, which was still attacking Xian, suddenly reversed. She seemed to be able to predict the future and knew how Xian would avoid her technique. In the next moment, she opened the 5 fingers of her left hand, and a bright butterfly knife immediately appeared in her hand. She stabbed the knife into the center of Xian's heart. Xian had already blocked Yun Jian's first move, but unexpectedly, Yun Jian saw through his move. The butterfly knife left a lightning-like afterimage in front of everyone present, and stabbed directly into Xian's heart. The knife stabbed into the center of Xian's heart. The knife fell, and the knife was pulled out. After Yun Jian stabbed the butterfly knife into Xian's heart, she directly pulled it out of Xian's heart in the next second. Xian's eyes widened. He even had no time to react before he died on the spot. She killed someone. She killed someone? Xiangji's initial disdain toward Yun Jian was replaced by shock at the speed of light when she saw the bloody butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand. Xiangji was so scared that her lips turned pale. She seems to belong to the god of killing who lives in such a world. At this time, Mari Chen looked at Yun Jian blankly and said this involuntarily. As soon as he said this, the group of men who had followed Xian with machine guns turned their heads and left one after another. Seeing that their kidnappers had left, Mari Chen and the rest were terrified of Yun Jian's actions, but they were elated that they could finally leave this god-forsaken place. However, just when they relaxed their tense emotions, Yun Jian shook the butterfly knife in her hand, which had just been wiped with paper, and sneered at the corner. Chapter 1741. As soon as Yun Jian finished her words, Xiangjiai, Mari Chen, Hu Yiru, and Sume were obviously stunned. Yun Jian's words meant, who was hiding in the dark? Who was hiding in the dark? Sume knew Yun Jian's strength, so she did not say anything just now. She did not want to implicate Yun Jian. Now that Zhan's men had all run away, Sume finally spoke up. Yun Jian did not reply to Sume. She blinked her eyes up and down, and her long and narrow eyelashes fluttered. It was a beautiful sight. Didn't you just kill a person? What so? So smug about it. Hu Yiru was very dissatisfied with Ma Yichen's evaluation of Yun Jian. Even though she had seen such a terrifying side of Yun Jian, she still scolded Yun Jian coldly. However, Hu Yiru spoke to Yun Jian with the mentality that Yun Jian would never do anything to her. Yunjian did kill Zhen, but did she dare to kill her?
Did she dare? However, Hu Yiru only dared to mutter these words in her heart and did not dare to say them out loud.
Hu Yiru, stop fooling around. As soon as Hu Yiru finished speaking, Mari Chen suddenly stopped her with her full name and did not let her continue talking nonsense. Brother Chen, who are you helping? That's how it is. She. Hu Yiru thought that Yunjian was pretending to be a ghost. There was clearly no one hiding in the dark, but Yunjian still had to pretend that there was someone hiding in the dark. However, just as Hu Yiru said this, a strange male voice suddenly came from the dark. There was a trace of indescribable gloominess in the voice. This little girl is so capable. She actually killed the most powerful assassin of our spirit devourer's leader, Zhen. After this strange voice came out, a man wearing a black and gray robe walked out from the dark. He had a high nose bridge and a face that looked like a woman's, but the voice that came out of his mouth was that of a foreign man. Although this foreign man looked a little like a woman, as long as one was not blind, one could still tell his gender at a glance. The foreign man spoke extremely fluent Chinese. Coupled with his strange tone of voice, everyone present had a moment of panic. There was really someone hiding in the dark. Who was this foreign man who suddenly appeared? Your purpose. This foreign man had been standing in the dark and watching the situation here for a long time. Yunjian had sensed his presence long ago, but she did not say it before. Now that they were in front of everyone, Yunjian did not beat around the bush with the foreign man. She looked at him and said it nonchalantly. The foreign man was slightly stunned. When he came to his senses, he pulled his lips and broke into an imperceptible smile. The foreign man immediately restrained his strange voice and returned to his normal tone. He looked at Yunjian and said with a smile, "I like to talk to smart little girls." He. The foreign man stopped laughing and looked at Yunjian sideways. He pursed his lips and said softly, "My name is Neil. I'm a senior assassin of the Spirit Devourer. When I saw you kill Zhen, your movements were clean and neat. You're even more powerful than our leader of the Spirit Devourer. So I ask you to cooperate with me. We'll attack from both sides and kill the leader of the Spirit Devourer. As long as you agree, I'll send everyone here home safely. What do you think?" When Neil spoke, his ambition was exposed. He was just a small senior assassin of the Spirit Devourer. His strength was clearly more powerful than Zhen. Why did the leader of the Spirit Devourer not pay attention to him? The leader of the Spirit Devourer was just a woman. Her strength was not much stronger than Zhen. He and Neil were not convinced. So, he wanted to work with Yunjian to kill the leader of the Spirit Devourer. "So, what about the benefits you're going to give me?" Yunjian narrowed her eyes and replied indifferently. Neil originally thought that Yunjian, this little girl, would thank God for sending everyone home safely. However, he did not expect Yunjian to be unsatisfied. His face darkened and he asked, "Then what do you want?" "I want half of the Spirit Devourer's forces to belong to me." Yunjian's words made Neil's pupils shrink slightly. Chapter 1742. When the students standing around heard Yunjian's words, they were all stunned. Yunjian actually wanted the Soul Devourer's power. What did she want the Soul Devourer's power for? Jinier was also completely stunned. Jinier was stunned because Yunjian's appetite was too big. Usually, when a girl of Yunjian's age was captured and sent here, she would be thankful as long as she could be sent back safely. However, Yunjian actually wanted half of the Soul Devourer's power. In fact, Jinier did not know that Yunjian usually did not want half of the organization's power, but the entire organization. Usually, when Yunjian took a liking to someone, she would poach the person and the organization under her name. Now, she wanted half of the Soul Devourer's power for two reasons. First, she did not like Jinier. Jinier was too murderous. If she took him under her wing, there was a 99.9% chance that he would betray her. Second, the Soul Devourer had unspeakable secrets. These secrets would lead to a massacre. If she, Yunjian, wanted half of the organization's power, if there was a crisis in the future, the first one to suffer would not be her, but Jinier. Yunjian was not the kind of person who would take people under her wing just because they had strength. It also depended on the other party's character and whether they would betray her. "Of course, you can also reject me and continue to be a high-level assassin," Yunjian said. When Jinier heard Yunjian's words, his dark eyes suddenly flashed, as if there was a strange and sinister luster. Okay. As long as you help me get the Soul Devourer, I'll give you half of the organization's power. Jinier agreed immediately. Giving it to you doesn't mean that you can't get it back. You're just a young girl, yet you want to get half of the Soul Devourer's power. You must be dreaming. Jinier originally planned to send Yunjian and her group away casually. Now, he wanted to kill Yunjian and her group. Deal. Yunjian clearly saw the sinister flash in Jinier's eyes. She pretended that she did not see anything and smiled faintly. In order to prevent Yunjian from not cooperating, Neil asked Su Mei, Xiangjai, Mari Chen, and everyone else present to follow him to the residence of the leader of the Spirit Devourer. What Jinier didn't know was that using Xiangjai to threaten Yunjian was completely useless. In the hall of the residence of the Soul Devourer's leader. Shenji, get out here. Give up your identity as the leader of the Soul Devourer and I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Ha ha ha. As soon as he entered the residence of the leader of the Soul Devourer, he began to make a big fuss. Yunjian's eyelids twitched when she heard Neil address the leader of the Soul Devourer as such. Just as Neil finished speaking, a woman in her 20s with a voluptuous figure and an enchanting charm walked in from the side. The moment Yunjian saw the girl, her lips curved into a smile. To think that he would run into an acquaintance here. That's right. Shenji was her old acquaintance. Among the thousands of people who had been trained as assassins in the same batch as Yunjian, only 3 of them had left in Hun Group alive. Yunjian was the only one among the 3 who had completely escaped in Hun Group's control. As for the other 2, one of them was Mad Dragon, who had been poached by Yunjian from an Hun Group to join the kosher mercenaries. The other person who had left in Hun Group alive with Yunjian and Mad Dragon was Shenji. Back in Hun Group, Shenji had done everything he could to surpass her and defeat her. However, she, slaying God, would not allow anyone to challenge her authority. Shenji had always been brooding over this and had vowed to surpass her in terms of ability in this lifetime. At this moment, Shenji's gaze swept across the room. He fixed his gaze on Yunjian before turning to look at Neil. He sneered. The position of the leader of the Soul Devourer can't be snatched away by you and this brat who came out of nowhere. Shenji's words were so intimidating that Xiangjai and the others felt their hearts skip a beat. They looked a little frightened. However, just as everyone was panicking, thinking that even if Yunjian killed Shenji, she would not be able to defeat this domineering Shenji. An even more intimidating and arrogant statement that caused everyone to tremble in fear continued to ring out. Chapter 1743. Shenji was a very competitive woman. Apart from that, she was also very ambitious. Like Mad Dragon, Shenji was an agent of the Hun organization. Out of the thousands of people who had been trained by the Hun organization with Yunjian, only 3 had survived. Yunjian was without a doubt the strongest of them all. Shenji and Mad Dragon were on par with each other. Of the 3, the only one who had escaped the Hun organization's control was Yunjian. Shenji was still under the control of the Hun organization. When Yunjian first heard about the Soul Eater organization, she thought it was similar to the Hun organization. Now she understood that the Soul Eater organization was Shenji's outside force. It was just like how Yunjian had taken over the kosher mercenaries when she was still in the Hun organization, becoming the boss of the kosher mercenaries. The Soul Eater organization was Shenji's own force. At the same time, one could feel Shenji's naked ambition from the similarity between the Soul Eater organization and the Hun organization. Shenji's actions didn't count as betraying the Hun organization. When Yunjian had been in the Hun organization, she had also been secretly expanding her own force. But when Yunjian said this, Shenji's expression changed. Shenji raised her eyes and looked sharply at Yunjian. Her pupils constricted. What did this little girl just say? Shenji had only heard Yunjian's arrogant words from one person before. Who the hell are you? Shenji's eyes narrowed. She looked at Yunjian, her expression changing rapidly. Shenji wasn't a weakling. She had been able to come out of the Hun organization alive. She wasn't simple at all. In spite of it, Shenji had only heard Yunjian's arrogant words from the person he was the most unyielding and most fearful of in his life. When Neil saw Shenji's reaction, he was even more shocked. Yunjian could actually make Shenji, who usually didn't show her emotions on her face, so shocked. Who the hell was she? Xiangjiao, Ma Chen, and Hu Yiru, who were standing around, were dumbfounded. Yunjian, do you know her? Ma Chen asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Did Yunjian know Shinji? Brother Chen, can't you tell? She was just pretending. He was the leader of the Soul Devourer. Who does she think she is? Don't you know what shame is? When Hu Yiru saw Ma Chen looking at Yunjian in horror, she was upset again. Thus, she followed up with Ma Chen's words. Exactly. Ever since we were on the truck, she had been pretending to be a ghost. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that she was really powerful and even knocked me out. He's really thick-skinned. How shameless. After Hu Yiru finished speaking, Xiangjiao, who had always been unhappy with Yunjian, spoke up. At this moment, Xiangjiao and Hu Yiru reached a consensus to attack Yunjian verbally. That's right. She should take a look at herself. Ha! Hu Yiru heard Xiangjiao's words and followed up. Just as she finished speaking, everyone saw Yunjian look straight into Shinji's eyes without fear. She ignored Xiangjiao and Hu Yiru's words and replied to Shinji with a cold smile. We've been in the Inhun group for more than 10 years. You've tried to assassinate me 309 times in front of me and 109 times behind my back. Every time, you've lost and left in a sorry state. Shinji, you actually didn't recognize me? There was a slight sneer in Yunjian's words, but everyone heard them clearly. Shinji's pupils constricted at the speed everyone could see clearly. She then confirmed Yunjian's identity right in front of Xiangjiao, Hu Yiru, Ma Chen, and everyone else. She exclaimed at Yunjian, Yunjian, you're the one who saved me. Chapter 1744. You're 006. Shenji exclaimed to Yunjian in front of everyone. Everyone was stunned at the sight. Yunjian, who stood in front of Shinji, raised the red arc with a smirk and spoke to Shinji coldly. Do you remember when you lost to me for the 409th time and yelled at me? I'll remember you even if you turn into ashes? 095. I didn't think that you wouldn't recognize me after such a short time. When Yunjian and Shinji were in Inhun, they'd always referred to each other by their numbers. Because in Inhun, everyone only had a number, not a code name. So when Yunjian and Shinji met, the words they used the most were their numbers. 095 was Shinji's number back then. Yunjian had an indescribable feeling towards Shinji. This feeling was different from the hatred she felt towards her enemies, and also different from the protection she felt towards her own people. Or to put it another way, in Yunjian and Shinji's subconscious, they'd already turned each other from mortal enemies to rivals. In the early years, the children who were caught and sent to Inhun organization were all in a state of killing each other. But later on, only a few of them survived. And there were only one or two outstanding people. Without a doubt, Yunjian and Shinji were the most outstanding of their batch of children. In that inhumane world back then, the reason why Yunjian and Shinji were more outstanding and powerful than the others was because they saw each other as rivals. They wanted nothing more than to surpass each other, or to stand at a position where no one could touch them. If a person could meet a rival, that was without a doubt a very lucky thing. Because when you see someone who's as strong as you as a rival, you'll do your best to climb up. When you reach the highest point, you'll look back and realize that you're already standing at a position where ordinary people can never touch you. Yunjian and Shinji had been like this back in Inhun, encouraging each other. But neither of them would reveal this relationship. Therefore, even though Yunjian and Shinji were women, they were able to trample over the so-called stronger men and become one of the 3 people who walked out of Inhun alive. This was why Yunjian had revealed her identity to Shinji as soon as she saw him. Yunjian and Shinji's conversation attracted everyone's attention. This was especially true for Xiangjiao and Hu Yiru. Just now, the two of them had criticized Yunjian for being so pretentious. Now, their expressions were extremely ugly. Xiangjiao knew that Yunjian was a guest at Luo Berry's house. Although she knew that Yunjian was the young madam of Inhun Group, she didn't know what Inhun Group was and didn't think that Yunjian was very powerful. Wasn't she just a fence-sitter who relied on men to get to the top? But hearing Yunjian and Shinji's conversation, Xiangjiao was stunned. She stared at Yunjian and Shinji and exclaimed, "Do you really know each other? I thought we didn't know each other just now." Didn't Shinji not know Yunjian just now? How was this possible? Yunjian really did know the leader of the Soul Devourer group. Naturally, no one paid any attention to Xiangji's exclamation. Shinji didn't see Xiangji as a person at all. After acknowledging Yunjian, Shinji studied Yunjian from head to toe. Then, he clicked his tongue and continued. You've changed your face and you're blaming me for not recognizing you. 006. Our grudge will never end in this lifetime. The grudge Shinji was referring to was the oath Shinji had made before that he would defeat Yunjian one day. I'll be waiting. Yunjian's lips curled into a faint smile. Then, she glanced at Shinji indifferently. What are you going to do by raising a puppet? Raising a puppet? Yunjian had just met Shinji, hadn't she? How did she know that Shinji was going to raise a puppet? Was she just making things up? Everyone in the distance was shocked again. They didn't know that Yunjian had already guessed it. Someone is buying puppets. One puppet can be sold for $1 million USD. Shinji walked over to a bench and sat down. He looked at Yunjian calmly. You have 50 million USD for every mission. Do you really need that much money? Yunjian stood where she was lazily and chatted with Shinji about mundane matters in front of the dumbfounded crowd. Everyone was flabbergasted by what she did. But what made Xiangji, Hu Yiru, and the others even more flabbergasted was what Shinji said next. When Shinji heard Yunjian's words, he immediately stood up from his seat. In front of everyone, he glared at Yunjian. Chapter 1745. All professional assassins and agents had a price tag when they went on missions. Also, assassins and agents usually made deals through the assassin website. Yunjian had logged into the assassin website before. Every assassin or agent had their own account on the official assassin website. Usually, when they accepted missions, they would do business on this special agent killer website. Yunjian and Shinji used to be assassins from Anhun. After they debuted, they had their own accounts on the assassin website. Their account names were their code names. The website would also evaluate the starting price of their missions based on their abilities and achievements. When Yunjian and Shinji were first evaluated on the assassin website, their starting price was the same. But as the number of missions and success rates increased, the difference gradually widened. Now, Yunjian's starting price for a mission had been raised to 100 million USD, while Shinji's starting price had been raised to 50 million USD. This starting price was the official price given by the website after evaluating an assassin or agent. Shinji wasn't weak. She might not be as strong as Yunjian, but she was only slightly weaker than Yunjian. But the official price given by the assassin website for Yunjian was 2 times higher than Shinji's. This was why Shinji wasn't convinced. Yunjian and Shinji's conversation was very normal. To Yunjian and Shinji, their conversation was as normal as eating and sleeping. But in the ears of the surrounding people, they were so scared that their souls almost fell out. When Yunjian said that Shinji's starting price for a mission was 50 million USD, Xiangji, Hu Yiru, and Marichen's jaws almost dropped. What kind of mission is this? 50 million USD? 50 million USD. If converted to RMB, wouldn't that be 300 million? 300 million. As long as Shinji went out on a mission, he would be richer than even Xiangji, who had been pampered since she was young, put all her money together. This series of words had already frightened Xiangji and the others so much that their faces turned pale. But what was worse was that Shinji said that Yunjian could earn 100 million USD for a mission. That would be 600 million yuan if converted to RMB. Could it be that Yunjian was also an assassin or a secret agent? She was actually so rich. Marichen and Su Mei were startled by Shinji's revelation of Yunjian's status. However, Xiangji was shocked. It was purely because she had previously mocked Yunjian for being a woman who relied on men to get to where she was and was not worthy of being the young madam of the Anhun organization. But now that she thought about it, Yunjian's wealth was beyond Xiangji's imagination. Xiangji was really stunned. She stood rooted to the ground, unable to recover from the shock. 100 million USD. If converted to RMB, it would be 600 million. Is this for real? She actually. The last person to shout was Hu Yiru. Hu Yiru's eyes widened. She stared at Xueqi and asked the question that terrified her. How is this possible? She was just an ordinary girl who only knew how to put on an act every day. She had no ability at all. That's all she was. Hu Yiru didn't believe it. She stared at Xueqi, almost suspecting that Xueqi was cooperating with Yunjian to deceive her. Whether it was Hu Yiru, Xiangjia, or Ma Yichen, they were all high school students in their teens. Usually, they would gather together and brag about some powerful person they knew. That was already the limit of what they could do. However, Yunjian was just like them. She was just a teenage girl. How could it be possible that he was such a powerful existence? Everyone present, including Neil and the people who wanted to team up with Yunjian to kill Xueqi, were all stunned. Xueqi sneered. After laughing, she turned to look at Hu Yiru and the others, who had been left hanging for a long time. As if she had heard the funniest joke in the world, she sneered. This is the first time I've heard someone say that 006 is an ordinary girl. How interesting. If 006 is ordinary, are there any extraordinary people in this world? Chapter 1746. Looking at Xiangjia and Hu Yiru who had mocked Yunjian over and over again, Xueqi almost burst out laughing. This was the funniest joke she had heard this year. Bar none. Slaying God, the #1 secret agent on the international secret agent ranking, had been called an ordinary girl by a bunch of ignorant humans who were good at pretending? To be honest, Xueqi's starting price for Yunjian's missions was already considered very low. Take note, this was only the starting price. The starting price was the lowest price. Usually, the price after a deal was completed could double or triple the starting price. However, just hearing this starting price was enough to scare Xiangjia, Hu Yiru, and the others half to death. Xueqi had never heard anyone say that Yunjian was an ordinary person who was good at pretending. Although she had always been enemies with Yunjian, she could not help but retaliate when she heard Hu Yiru belittle Yunjian. When she finished speaking, Hu Yiru, Xiangjia, and the others' eyes widened even more. They were so shocked that their faces turned pale. However, Xueqi had already turned her gaze back to Yunjian. She could not help but speak again in front of everyone. Although I'm not convinced, I, Xueqi, have always been upright and never talk nonsense. Right now I can't compare to her. At this point, Xueqi's confidence reignited. She looked at Yunjian and pointed at Yunjian confidently. She spoke to Yunjian as if she was challenging her to a fight. But 006, just you wait. One day, I'll surpass you in all aspects. Yunjian narrowed her eyes. She liked Xueqi's unyielding personality. Xueqi knew the gap between them and never denied the existence of the gap. However, Xueqi had never admitted defeat. She had always maintained her desire to surpass her. Even if the gap between Xueqi and Yunjian's abilities was getting bigger and bigger. Yunjian understood that the reason she could become stronger was because Xueqi had been chasing after her. I'm looking forward to that day. Yunjian smiled. Yunjian had indeed come here to help Neil kill the leader of the Soul Devourer. But after seeing that the leader of the Soul Eater organization was Xueqi, Yunjian changed her mind. In the distance, even if Junior was an idiot, he could tell the relationship between Yunjian and Xueqi. Hearing this, Junior wasn't stupid. He naturally knew that it was impossible for him and Yunjian to kill Xueqi. Therefore, Neil turned around and tried to escape. Yunjian immediately saw through Junior's thoughts. Her eyes darkened, and her red lips curled into a smile as she spoke to Xueqi. Your subordinate has just formed an alliance with me. He wants to join forces with me to kill you. He also promised to give me half of the Soul Devourer organization's forces. That's a very attractive offer. Yunjian didn't say it out loud, but anyone who wasn't stupid could tell that Yunjian was trying to warn Xueqi that the subordinate who had tried to betray him was about to escape. Junior! Dang! When Xueqi heard this, he was enraged. In a few short seconds, Xueqi caught up to Junior, who was trying to escape, and killed him in front of everyone. This method of killing was somewhat similar to Yunjian's. Even so, Xiangjia, Hu Yiru, and the others were so scared that they didn't dare say another word. Xiangjia, Hu Yiru, and the others had probably spent their entire lives in fear and shock here. After Xueqi finished off Junior, Yunjian turned her head and looked at Xueqi. She asked him in French. You said that someone was buying the puppets. Is the person buying the puppets a mysterious person wearing a black robe? Yunjian asked Shenji in French. Naturally, she didn't want Xiangjiari, Hu Yiru, and the others to understand her question. As expected when she said this, Xiangjiari, who had just recovered from the shock of seeing Shenji kill Jinier, looked at Yunjian and couldn't help but complain, what kind of bird language is she blabbering on about? Judging from her accent, she seems to be speaking the most standard French. As soon as Xiangjiari spoke, a boy who'd only heard French before widened his eyes in shock. She can speak French. It's not hard to learn a foreign language, but to speak it so fluently, you'd have to learn it from elementary school to adulthood. The boy added. Chapter 1747. Yunjian did not find it strange that this group of people would make a fuss over something so trivial. At this moment, Shenji, who understood Yunjian's words, replied to Yunjian in perfect French. That's right. The person who bought the puppets was indeed a mysterious man in a black robe. Yunjian's eyes lit up when Shenji finished speaking. It was the mysterious man. Any unusual organization had an inseparable relationship with the mysterious man. The Inferno Ring at the beginning, followed by the Blood Doll, and now the Soul Eater. Yunjian realized that whether it was the Inferno Ring at the beginning, the Blood Doll, or the Soul Eater now, they all had one thing in common. The mysterious man was using others to do his dirty work. In other words, the mysterious man had never sent his subordinates to attack Yunjian, the Kosha mercenaries, or the Inhun organization. He had been looking for forces on Earth to deal with Yunjian and Ce. This was also the reason why Yunjian and Ce could not find any trace of the mysterious man. Now that they knew that the mysterious man came from a mysterious continent outside of Yulong mainland, it was understandable why Yunjian and Ce could not find any trace of the mysterious man. Don't sell any more puppets to him in the future, Yunjian said without saying anything else. Shenji's eyelids twitched when he heard Yunjian's words, and he nodded. Sure. Of course, she had to do slaying God a favor. As for the other reasons, Shenji would not ask if Yunjian did not mention them. The less she knew, the better. Shenji was a smart person, so of course, he would not say too much. Not selling any more puppets meant that the kidnapped Su Mei, Mari Chen, Xiangjiari, and Hu Yiru were useless. In the end they were released. However, before releasing them, Yunjian made everyone take amnesia liquid for 3 hours before sending them away. As a result, whether it was Su Mei, Mari Chen, or the rest, their memories stopped at the time they were kidnapped in the truck. He couldn't remember anything that had happened in the last 3 hours, including everything that had happened since he got off the truck. Before Yunjian left, Shenji asked for an address for Yunjian. He said that he could challenge her at any time. In the end, Yunjian and the others were sent back to Loberi's house by Shenji's helicopter. When they arrived at Loberi's house, Yunjian said that she had been unconscious the whole way. When she woke up, she had fallen unconscious in Loberi's house with everyone else. Naturally, he would not pursue the matter any further. Yunjian had returned to Longmen City with Luo Berry, Mo Sen, and Su Mei. As soon as they got home, Yunjian brought Luo Berry to look for Qing Yu, leaving Mo Sen at home. She had nothing to do at home, so she went out for a walk. Yunjian had just brought Luo Mei to Qing Yu's house when they saw Qing Yu, Gunyanji, and Lang Mei returning from their stroll. I've decided to get a boyfriend. Let's start again. At this moment, Lang Mei's firm voice was heard. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and went forward with Luo Berry. After the introductions, Luo Berry got to know Qing Yu, Gunyanji, and Lang Mei quickly. Although Luo Berry was already 18, she looked like she was only 14 or 15. Lang Mei liked Luo Berry quite a lot. Now that they were more familiar with each other, she put an arm around Luo Berry's shoulders and walked out. Lang Mei was sure that her chief, Di Lin, had returned to Blood Doll. He probably gave up on her because he could not find her. Lang Mei had also sent a woman to Di Lin by mail. Yunjian looked at Lang Mei, feeling like she was starting all over again. Yunjian watched as Lang Mei put an arm around Luo Berry's shoulders and said boldly, "Let's go, little girl. Jejia will take you to a handsome guy." Emosen was not around. Luo Berry blushed at Lang Mei's words. Before Lang Mei could finish, she saw Di Lin coming from behind Lang Mei. Yunjian, who did not remind Lang Mei of Di Lin's arrival, narrowed her eyes as she watched the fuming Di Lin walk to Lang Mei from behind and grab her wrist, bellowing. Chapter 1748. Yun Jian, who was standing behind Lang Mei, saw Di Lin walking over from afar. She grabbed Lang Mei's hand and called out softly. Yun Jian smirked and gestured to Luo Mei, Qing Yu, and Gun Yanji before turning to walk to Qing Yu's suite. Qing Yu and Gun Yanji exchanged a look when Yun Jian left. They walked over to drag Luo Mei away and gave Lang Mei a do-as-you-see-fit expression before following Yun Jian upstairs with a smirk. Lang Mei, who had been confident that her Lord Chief would never look for her again, turned her head and saw Di Lin. She was so shocked that she jumped back. F***ck, 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 Lord Chief, why are you here? Lang Mei's wrist was suddenly grabbed and she heard this familiar voice. She didn't react in time. She wanted to curse but she saw Di Lin's familiar face. Lang Mei stopped in her tracks and took a few steps back, almost tripping. Di Lin grabbed Lang Mei's hand with a dark expression. Who do you want to F***ck? Di Lin grabbed Lang Mei's hand and spoke with a face that looked like he was about to tear her apart. She just told another girl that she wanted to hit on a handsome guy. Hit on a handsome guy. Who did she want to hit on? Who else did she want to be with other than him? Lord Chief, I was just talking nonsense. That last time, I just wanted to come out and have some fun. I didn't mean to lie to you. Lang Mei dared not look into Di Lin's eyes. She was not short but her height was just above his ear. Because they were very close, Lang Mei could not see his expression clearly. However, just as Lang Mei lowered her head, her eyes darting around as she tried to come up with a series of lies, Di Lin suddenly put a hand on Lang Mei's waist and pulled her close to him. Lang Mei was stunned. In the next second, a handsome face enlarged in front of her eyes. It was Di Lin who bent over and kissed her on the lips. Lang Mei was dumbfounded. Her eyes suddenly widened. She was so shocked that she could not use words to describe it. This was the first time Di Lin took the initiative to kiss her. Lang Mei had always thought that she was just a mistress in Di Lin's heart, a dispensable tool for him to vent. In the past, it was always Lang Mei who took the initiative to kiss Di Lin. Di Lin would never avoid her, but there was no way he would kiss her or kiss her back. That was impossible. Even when they were doing that, she leaned over and kissed him. Ahem. He never responded to her kisses. This made Lang Mei thought that Di was only using her as a tool. Therefore, when Di Lin suddenly bent down and kissed her, Lang Mei was dumbfounded. She stared at Di Lin's handsome face in shock and didn't come back to her senses for a long time. Di Lin kissed Lang Mei for a long time but didn't get a response. He was a little angry and reached out his right hand to the back of Lang Mei's head, deepening the kiss. Lang Mei took a few deep breaths. Finally, in broad daylight, just as Lang Mei was about to suffocate from Di Lin's kiss, Di Lin let her go. Lang Mei took a few deep breaths. She looked up and met Di Lin's eyes, planning to tell him her decision. Leader, I'll be frank. I've been with you for so many years. I've always been willing. But after so many years, I'm tired. Aren't you tired? Let's end this relationship. I don't want to be your mistress anymore. Just as Lang Mei was about to say everything she wanted to say, Di Lin's face darkened. He interrupted her and said something that made her dumbfounded. Chapter 1749. I love you, that's why I forced you to be my woman. Di Lin's first sentence almost gave Lang Mei a heart attack. What did he say? He said, he loved her? He did force her to be Di Lin's woman back then. Lang Mei knew that Di Lin did not like dirty women, so he found someone he was familiar with, someone who was pure. When Di Lin asked Lang Mei if she was willing to be his woman, Lang Mei nodded right away. Firstly, it was because Di Lin's father had saved her and she wanted to repay him. Secondly, Lang Mei liked Di Lin. However, Lang Mei knew that Di Lin did not like her when she first started following him. She never thought that he would like her one day. It had been so many years. Sometimes, Lang Mei wanted a home of her own. She did not want to be a tool for others to vent their frustrations. Lang Mei was sure that Di Lin did not love her, so she mustered up the courage to say what she said. She thought that Di Lin would let her go if she said what she said. However, Lang Mei never thought that Di Lin would say that he loved her. What surprised Lang Mei even more was, he said that he loved her, that's why he forced her to be his woman back then. Did this mean that he loved her from the beginning? There was too much information in these words, causing Lang Mei to be completely stunned. Lang Mei dared not dream of being loved by the great chief. Looking at Lang Mei's adorable dumbfounded expression, Di Lin smirked. He grabbed Lang Mei and dragged her away. She dared to hide from him these days. Good. Very good. This trip back would take 10 days and 10 nights, not a day less. In Qing Yu's house, on the sofa in the living room, Yun Jian rested her hands lazily on the sofa, blinking. Even Luo Mei, who was also a woman, could not help but take a few more glances at her beautiful and delicate face. Let's go, let's go. Hee hee hee. This is too exciting. The two of them kissed just like that at the entrance of the busy neighborhood. I told you guys to come out and take a look, but you guys didn't. You missed a good show. Hey. Gu Nianji, who had been peeping at Di Lin and Lang Mei from the corridor, ran in excitedly when she saw Di Lin leaving with Lang Mei. Where is he? Yun Jian curled her lips. She pursed her lips and asked indifferently. Gone, already gone, ha ha ha. Gu Nianji walked up to Yun Jian and sat down on the sofa beside her. She was secretly happy that Lang Mei had been taken away by Di Lin. After Gu Nianji sat down, Qing Yu poured a few glasses of orange juice from the kitchen and placed them in front of everyone. Drink. 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 Luo Berry, don't be shy. Just treat this place as your own home. Qing Yu said with a cup of wine in her hand. Luo Berry thanked them and her good impression of Qing Yu and Gu Nianji improved. Taking 2 sips of the orange juice, Yun Jian pressed her lips together and turned to look at Qing Yu, remembering that Adam and Lan Su had returned to Earth from Yulong mainland, so she asked, "What's the matter?" Lan Su didn't come back? Hearing Yun Jian mention Lan Su, Qing Yu, who felt like she had forgotten something, snapped back to reality. She asked Yun Jian in return, "She went to Min City to look for you. Didn't you guys meet?" Qing Yu did not know that Yun Jian had gone to Luo Berry's house. She thought that Yun Jian was still studying at Min City's military academy. "I haven't been to Min City's military academy recently," Yun Jian said with a press of her lips. Adam did not return to Longmen City. He went back to An Hun Group to report to CE that he had returned from Yulong mainland. Adam had gone to Luo Berry's house purely to look for Mo Sen because he had Mo Sen's phone GPS. Adam had gone to look for Mo Sen after sending Lan Su to Qing Yu's house, so he did not know that Lan Su would go to Min City to look for Yun Jian. "Oh God, I gave her your school's address not too long ago. She's probably at your school's entrance now." Qing Yu rubbed her forehead and said helplessly, "This was simply a beautiful miss. Besides, she doesn't know how to use a phone, so she didn't buy one. We can't contact her either," Qing Yu added helplessly. How could he miss out on such a magnificent opportunity? "I'll go to Min City to look for her." Yun Jian retracted her hand from the sofa and stood up to pass Luo Berry to Qing Yu before heading out. Yun Jian had taken leave recently because she was worried that Chen Xinyi's injury would worsen. Now that Chen Xinyi's critical period was over, Yun Jian did not have to stay in Longmen City all the time. Chapter 1750. Lan Su dawdled at the entrance of Min City's military academy for almost an hour. When the guard saw that she was really here to look for someone, he had Lan Su sign a name on the registration form for outsiders and let her in. This was because Lan Su was from the Yulong continent. People from the Yulong continent usually lived up to 1,000 years. Ordinary people could live up to 1,000 years. It was not unusual for people like Lan Su to live up to 10,000 years. Cultivators with powerful spiritual power could even achieve immortality. Of course, other than those freaks in the deity continent, cultivators who could achieve immortality were just legends in the Yulong continent. To Lan Su and the others, time was the least valuable thing. Therefore, when the guard did not let her into Min City's military academy to look for Yun Jian, Lan Su had waited at the entrance for a whole hour. Lan Su was not flustered even after an hour of waiting. She had planned to wait for Yun Jian to come to Min City's military academy after class. In the end, the god could not stand it any longer and let her in. Min City's military academy paid special attention to outsiders because the students in the school were usually the future pillars of the country. Lan Su knew which class Yun Jian was in. Qing Yu had told her before, So Lan Su headed straight to Year 1-2. Just as she reached Year 1-2's classroom, Lan Su stood at the door and looked around. She frowned in suspicion when she did not see Yun Jian. At this moment, a pretty girl walked past Lan Su. She saw that Lan Su had been waiting for quite a while, so she looked at Lan Su and asked, "Classmate, who are you looking for? Do you need me to call that person out for you?" "Year 1-2's Yun Jian," Lan Su answered the kind girl.
Yun Jian, she's been. The girl was about to reply to Lan Su when she was pushed aside by a fierce figure. After the fierce figure pushed the girl away, she pushed her into the classroom and spoke to Lan Su first. "I know where Yun Jian is now. I'm taking leave to go home now. I'll bring you to her. She's not in school." "Thank you," Lan Su thanked her politely.
"Are you really Yun Jian's friend?"
Looking at Lan Su's innocent and naive demeanor, the owner of the ferocious figure who had bumped into the girl just now was Lin Shuya, who had always been at odds with Yun Jian. Her eyes darted around as she asked Lan Su again in a reassuring tone.
"Yes," Lan Su answered simply. Okay. Come with me. I've just taken leave to go home. I'll bring you to Yun Jian now." Lin Shuya scoffed inwardly and led Lan Su out of the school gate. Since Yun Jian was really not in school and Qingyu said that Yun Jian was in Min City, Lan Su followed her without much thought. 15 minutes later, Lin Shuya brought Lan Su into a smoky bar. Lin Shuya found an excuse to take leave from school so that she could gather with some of the gangsters she knew at the bar. A large group of men and women sat together and chatted about some ambiguous topics. Who knew that she would bump into Yun Jian's friend at the entrance of the class? She looked so innocent. It was really effortless to obtain it. She, Lin Shuya, wanted Yun Jian to know the price of provoking her. Lan Su did not have a deep understanding of Earth, so she did not think too much about it. However, when Lin Shuya brought her into the smoky bar, Lan Su was slightly stunned. Yun Jian was here. Chapter 1751. Lin Shuya couldn't wait to frame Lan Su, so she urged her. When Lan Su heard this, her eyes flashed slightly, but she listened to Lin Shuya's words and walked into the noisy smoky bar. Here. I'm in school. I'm good friends with Yun Jian. She's amazing. Previously, she won first place in the wilderness survival event during military training. Today, we agreed to take leave together and come here to play. Lin Shuya was afraid that Lan Su wouldn't believe her, so she instilled in Lan Su that she knew Yun Jian and was good friends with Yun Jian. Lan Su was skeptical, but she didn't say anything. She followed Lin Shuya into the private room of the bar. The bar was very noisy, and the violent sound made people's hearts jump. There were also differences in bars. There was a kind of bar that was more romantic. Generally, there were bartenders in the bar, and the bar would also invite a special band to sing. Another kind of bar was a place for urban men and women to relieve pressure after a busy day of work. This kind of bar was generally a place where men and women got to know each other and talked. Moreover, the rock music was set to be particularly loud. When people stood in the bar, they could feel their hearts and bodies being shaken. Generally, the latter was a more chaotic place. It was also a place where one-night stands or things like being drugged often happened. Lin Shuya brought Lan Su to a more chaotic bar. As soon as he entered the bar, he could smell a strong scent of perfume, or perhaps it was some kind of smell that could make people excited. Lin Shuya brought Lan Su around the noisy bar and came to a private room. As soon as she entered the private room of the bar, the noisy and chaotic sound in the private room made Lan Su frown slightly. In the private room, there was a large group of men and women hugging each other. Some men even boldly placed their hands on the women's thighs and stroked them. Lan Su's appearance was outstanding, so as soon as she entered the private room, she immediately attracted the fiery gazes of the men in the private room. "Yo, Sister Shuya, this is?" Immediately, a few punks came over and looked at Lan Su with malicious eyes. "She's a friend of my friend Yun Jian. Brother Jia, where did Yun Jian go? Why don't I see her?" Lin Shuya saw that the man in front of her was sizing up Lan Su with his lecherous eyes for a few moments, so she winked at the man called Brother Jia a few times and said. Jia saw at a glance that Lin Shuya was lying to Lan Su. So Jia immediately, Lin Shuya's to continue to bluff Lan Su. "Sister Yun's sister just went out to buy some water, and we'll be back in a while. Don't worry, It's yours first time coming here, right? Sit on the sofas Titus, teat, s's, t sit. Lan Su didn't refuse. After a while, Jie walked to Lan Su with a glass of juice. He smiled at Lan Su. Sister, I see that it's your first time coming to a bar. Don't drink with them. Drink a glass of juice to quench your thirst. Your friend will be back soon. At this time Lin Shuya, who was sitting next to Lan Su, also said, Jie told you to drink 2 sips, so drink 2 sips. I'm going out to look for Yun Jian. I don't know what she's doing. Why hasn't she come back yet? With that, Lin Shuya pretended to leave the hotel's private room. Lan Su put the juice halfway to her mouth and smelled the smell of the drug in the juice, but she didn't expose it and drank it in one gulp. Didn't anyone tell them that she was the same as her family's sorcerer god? They both had a physique that was immune to poison. However, Lan Su still fainted symbolically. Lin Shuya, who was standing outside the private room, saw that Lan Su had fainted so quickly. She quickly walked into the room from outside the private room and stopped pretending. She directly tore off her hypocritical mask, pointed at Lan Su, and said to the men in the room, I'll give you a gift. Turn the sound in our private room to the maximum. You can do whatever you want with this woman. Just don't kill her. I'll guard outside for you. Hurry up. As soon as Lin Shuya finished speaking, a man immediately pulled off his belt with a cheer. The sound in the private room was very loud. It wasn't the first time this group of men had done something like letting a large group of men take turns with a young girl. Lin Shuya was even more confident that she could destroy Yun Jian's friend, Lan Su. This is beautiful. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Brothers, last time those women were all first. This time, I have to go first. As Brother Jie spoke, he took off his pants without any shame, leaving only a pair of pure black underwear. With a wretched smile on his face, he walked towards the unconscious Lan Su. The people around all cheered with an "oh," all of them treating it as if they were watching a show. However, just as Brother Jie was about to reach Lan Su and was 3 meters away from Lan Su, the door of the private room was suddenly kicked open. Lin Shuya, who hadn't walked out of the door yet, was so scared that she took 2 steps back. Outside the door, a petite but slender young girl stopped and entered. When they saw the young girl who suddenly entered, the eyes of the people around them lit up. This young girl was so beautiful. But before the people present could exclaim, they saw Yun Jian, who had just entered the room, coldly looking at the scene. She saw Brother Jie walk towards the unconscious Lan Su, and didn't even raise his eyes before a knife flew out. The knife followed the trajectory and accurately stabbed Brother Jie, who was only wearing a pair of underwear. The knife chopped off Brother Jie's manhood on the spot in front of everyone. Seeing this, the faces of the people who were still laughing just now were instantly frightened to the extreme. She actually. Before they could think much, they heard a voice that was even more sinister and cold than the azure of hell. Chapter 1752. Yun Jian was furious. Lan Su was not only her protector in her previous life, but also her friend. In her previous life, as the witch god, Lan Su had accompanied her for thousands of years. This kind of feeling was indescribable. At this moment, the knife that she threw out directly chopped off Brother Jie's genitals, causing Brother Jie to roll on the ground in pain. She opened her 5 fingers, and 2 shiny butterfly knives were held between her hands. Yun Jian slowly walked into the private room. With every step she took, everyone present felt their cells tremble violently. She just threw out a flying knife, and that knife seemed to be held in the hands of the Grim Reaper. With a flying knife, it was so accurate that everyone present felt that it was inconceivable, and one knife crippled Brother Jie's genitals. This kind of terrifying skill should not appear on a teenage girl at all. But this girl who suddenly appeared at the door of the private room did it. Just when everyone was panicking about the background of this girl who suddenly appeared, Lin Shuya, who was not far from Yun Jian, pointed her finger slightly at Yun Jian. She was so scared that her face turned pale, and she screamed on the spot. Yun Jian! You! Why are you here? Lin Shuya had seen Yun Jian's methods. This time, she dared to do this because she was sure that Yun Jian was not in Min City. Lin Shuya had just said this, and before she could finish speaking, Yun Jian kicked Lin Shuya's abdomen in front of everyone in the private room, and immediately kicked Lin Shuya to the ground. Her figure followed closely, and the butterfly knife in her right hand swung left and right. She nimbly and accurately placed the blade of the knife on Lin Shuya's neck, who was kicked to the ground. This process was completed in 2 breaths, but it frightened the group of girls standing around, as well as the gangsters who were like Brother Jer in the society. These gangsters were usually very powerful, and they often liked to bring their girlfriends or female friends out to places like bars or nightclubs to play. Usually, when a large group of people played together, they always liked to brag about things that they thought were very proud and arrogant, and then get a large group of girls to worship them, in order to show their holiness. Usually, such hooligans would form gangs. However, no matter how arrogant and powerful they had never seen a girl as powerful as Yun Jian. As a result, this large group of hooligans all opened their mouths wide and stood in place with an expression of disbelief. Looking at Yun Jian, they could no longer speak. After Yun Jian kicked Lin Shuya to the ground, she placed the butterfly knife on Lin Shuya's neck. The sneer on her face made everyone's hair stand on end. "I'll send you to hell, okay? Yun Jian, we are classmates. Put the knife down. Let's talk nicely." Everything that happened just now was just a misunderstanding. Lin Shuya's eyes widened in fright as she tried to find an excuse. As soon as Lin Shuya said this, Yun Jian pushed the butterfly knife in her hand towards Lin Shuya's neck. That burning pain instantly spread throughout Lin Shuya's body. Lin Shuya screamed as blood flowed out. She didn't dare to move anymore. However, they heard Yun Jian's lazy voice again, but the words weren't directed at Lin Shuya. "Why aren't you getting up?" Yun Jian directly ignored Lin Shuya. Everyone was shocked. "Why aren't you getting up?" Just as they thought this, they saw Lan Su, who was pretending to be unconscious, turn over and get up from the sofa. When everyone saw this, they were dumbfounded. She. Wasn't she already unconscious? How did she wake up again? And more importantly, Yun Jian could actually see that Lan Su was pretending to be unconscious. Lan Su had just deceived everyone present. Everyone couldn't help but wonder who Yun Jian was that Lin Shuya provoked. This person was too scary. Lan Su rubbed her nose and parted her lips slightly before she walked to Yun Jian in front of everyone and nodded at her, saying, "Yun Jian, you're the one who's going to make a mistake." Chapter 1753. As soon as Lan Su's words fell, the group of delinquents standing around, including Lin Shuya and the others, all froze. What clan leader? What master? How come they couldn't understand what Lan Su was saying at all? But even if they couldn't understand, this group of delinquents didn't dare to make a sound. They had just seen Lan Su drink that cup of juice with the knockout drug. Lan Su had indeed fainted, and now he woke up as if nothing had happened. This could only mean one thing. The knockout drug had no effect on Lan Su at all. And Brother Jia, who had wanted to be the first to make a move on Lan Su, had now been turned from a man to a woman by Yun Jian. How could they dare to say anything more? Did they not want their lifeblood anymore? This group of delinquents, who used to be extremely cocky, were now all cowering in the corner, not even daring to say a single word. After hearing Lan Su's words, Yun Jian simply kicked Lin Shuya away, sheathed her knife, and turned to look at Lan Su. "Where is he?" Yun Jian asked. In her previous life, the old man who taught her hypnotism and all kinds of skills was her master. If it wasn't for him, she might have already died in her previous life. "Let's talk outside." Lan Su glanced at the people around and spoke to Yun Jian. "Okay." Yun Jian nodded. But before leaving, Yun Jian did something very interesting. 30 minutes later, the bar's room attendant came to the room. When she opened the door to the room and saw the scene inside, she was so shocked that she covered her face and screamed. She saw that the large group of men and women in the room had all fainted, but the only thing that could be seen was that the large group of men and women were hugging each other in pairs, their clothes disheveled, as if they were doing something unspeakable. In the end, Lin Shuya and the group were all taken away by the police for group prostitution. Of course, what happened next had nothing to do with Yun Jian. After Yun Jian and Lan Su left the bar, they came to an empty corner. "Sorcerer God, we don't know your master's whereabouts at the moment, but the clan leader found out that a martial arts family on Earth had helped your master before. Before your master left, he left a letter for the master of the martial arts family. That letter contained a detailed way to contact your master, saying that it was to repay the kindness of this family head. It's just that the head of the martial arts family is rather stubborn. The patriarch has already sent people 3 times to exchange various treasures for the letter, but they still couldn't get the letter. Lan Su conveyed what Wu Lan, the tribe leader of the Wu tribe, wanted to tell Yun Jian. Yun Jian's eyes flickered. Where is that warrior family? Yun Jian pursed her lips and asked. Sorcerer God, are you going there personally? Lan Su asked. Okay. Yun Jian nodded. It's in a small ravine in the north of Dongdong province. It's very far from Longmen City, answered Lan Su. Pack up. We'll depart in 3 days. It was Friday, 3 days later. They would depart on a holiday. Yun Jian's lips curved as she spoke faintly. Okay. Lan Su nodded obediently. After the announcement, Lan Su returned to Longmen City while Luo Mei stayed at Qing Yu's house. Chen Xinyi's injuries were almost healed, so Yun Jian went back to Min City's military academy. Lin Wan and Mu Ying stayed with Yun Jian for half a day in Min City's military academy. When the physical education class ended in the afternoon, the physical education teacher announced that the students were free to do whatever they wanted. Yun Jian, Lin Wan, and Mu Ying sat on a lawn nearby, looking at the blue sky leisurely. Yun Jian, let's go shopping after school on Friday. There's a new mall in Min City recently. The clothes there are really pretty. Lin Wan suggested. I have something on this weekend, Yun Jian declined. All right, we'll go next week then. Lin Wan knew Yun Jian well. She would not press for the reason even if Yun Jian said that she could not go. Yun Jian nodded. Just as the physical education teacher returned to his office and Yun Jian's classmates were free to do whatever they wanted, a middle-aged man walked over from afar. The middle-aged man left in a hurry, attracting the attention of many people around him. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes as she watched the unfamiliar man walk up to her. When the middle-aged man came to Yun Jian, he knelt down in front of her in front of all the students in the field and shouted, I'm sorry, Yun Jian. Please save my young master. Save my young master. I beg you. When the surrounding students saw this, they were all stunned for a moment. What was wrong with this man? Why was he kneeling before Yun Jian and begging Yun Jian to save his life? Yun Jian was Team Monarch slashing God, but she was only good at it. Was it not the doctor's job to save lives? Uncle, are you looking for the wrong person? Saving people is a doctor's job. Lin Wan replied in front of the other students after she heard that. However, before Lin Wan could finish her sentence, the middle-aged man shook his head and looked at Yun Jian. No. There's no mistake, it's her. She's the legendary hand of death who can bring the dead back to life. With that, the middle-aged man looked straight into Yun Jian's eyes and said urgently to Yun Jian in front of everyone. Chapter 1754. The middle-aged man's pleading posture was eye-catching, especially when he had come to the school to beg for help. Yun Jian's class was not the only class that was having PE class. There were a few classes around them that were having PE classes as well. The middle-aged man's cry for help and what he said earlier echoed clearly throughout the classroom, shocking many who were there. Especially when the middle-aged man said the last sentence. He actually said, Yun Jian was the hand of death in the medical field? She even revived a girl who was declared dead in Longmen City's People's Hospital. What kind of joke was this? There were a few girls in Yun Jian's class who were closer to Lin Shuya, so they burst into laughter when they heard what the middle-aged man said. The hand of death in the medical field? You don't say. I really do pay attention to the medical world. The hand of death is known as the king of the medical field. I heard that she can even revive a person whose heart and brain were declared dead. She's the most amazing medical genius in the world today. She's the real reincarnation of Hua Tuo. But how can such an amazing person be Yun Jian? Even if she's dead, she can't be Yun Jian. And if Yun Jian is so amazing, why didn't she choose military medicine when she applied for military school? A girl who looked decent standing not far away from Yun Jian was Yun Jian's classmate and Lin Shuya's friend. As the girl spoke, she mocked Yun Jian in an indirect manner. She thought she was amazing because she majored in military medicine, unlike Yun Jian who did not know anything about medicine and trained her skills with the guys all day long. Once the girl spoke, many people around them chimed in agreement. Yun Jian's ability was already so outstanding.
Could she be the hand of death? The middle-aged man insisted on his opinion after listening to the people around him. No. She must be the hand of death. As he spoke, the middle-aged man looked at Yunjian and said to Yunjian, "There's a recording of the operation you performed in Longmen City's People's Hospital the last time. You saved a dead man. As long as you save our young master, our old master will give you a reward of 50 million. The middle-aged man's surname was Xue, and he was the housekeeper of the young master and old master's house. Steward Xue had watched his young master grow up. Just now, his young master had gotten into a car accident. The hospital had concluded that he could not be saved and could only wait for death. Coincidentally, the doctor at the hospital said that only the hands of the medical world's Grim Reaper could save her. The doctor also said that Death's hand was last seen in Longmen City People's Hospital. Steward Xue's family was powerful and influential. He managed to find out Yunjian's current identity with just a few phone calls and even found the surveillance footage of Longmen City's People's Hospital surgery scene. As soon as he got the address, Steward Xue immediately rushed over to beg Yunjian for help. A reward of 50 million. 50 million. In this day and age of 1999, 50 million was an astronomical figure. It was equivalent to a few billion in modern times. Therefore, when they heard Steward Xue's words, the surrounding students were dumbfounded. Even the girl who was certain that Yunjian was not the hand of death was completely dumbfounded. Just when everyone thought that Yunjian would agree to Steward Xue's request regardless of whether she was the hand of death or not, a cold smile appeared on Yunjian's face. From afar, Yunjian smirked and looked at Steward Xue with a cold smirk. She said faintly, "Since when did the fee for me to save someone become so low?" When Yunjian finished speaking, everyone was stunned. Yunjian's words meant. Could it be that she was the one in the legends? Before they could ponder further, Yunjian's words were heard again. She was speaking to Steward Xue. Chapter 1755. Yunjian's words entered everyone's ears, and they were all shocked. Yunjian's words were an admission of her identity, and she was also telling Steward Xue about it. She wouldn't save people. As the hand of death in the medical world, Yunjian rarely saved people. Although she was the hand of death in the medical world, not everyone could be saved. It wasn't easy being a doctor. Not to mention her as the hand of death. Even if an ordinary doctor had excellent medical skills, was very strong, and could perform every operation smoothly, if he failed one day, people would completely lose confidence in him. There was no time when people didn't make mistakes, and there was also no time when they didn't make any mistakes. This was true. However, in the medical world, to the common people and to the general public, no one would use this to understand doctors. How could there be any mistakes when a person's life was gone? Even an ordinary doctor would be despised because of a careless mistake, let alone her, who was at the top of the medical world. Yunjian wasn't a god, so naturally, she couldn't save people from the dead every time. In the past, Yunjian relied on her hands to save people. Now that she had recovered her spiritual power, it was unrealistic for her to use her spiritual power to save people every time. On Earth, every time she used her spiritual power to save someone, she would have to bear the punishment of not making any progress in her cultivation for 10 years. Every time she used her spiritual power, it would be stacked. After saving Chen Sini last time, Yunjian's cultivation had been stagnant for 10 years. Naturally, she couldn't easily save people again. Yunjian's words were all true, but to the students around Yunjian, it was abrupt and shocking. Yunjian's words didn't mean that she was admitting that she was the hand of death. You're the hand of death? You're really the hand of death? You must be joking. The girl who mocked Yunjian earlier glared at Yunjian, her face pale with fright. Mu Ying wasn't surprised at all. She knew that Yunjian was slaying God, so she knew that all these identities meant nothing to Yunjian. Steward Xue's expression changed slightly after hearing Yunjian's words. He wasn't surprised that Yunjian would reject him. In front of everyone, Steward Xue fished out a black envelope from his pocket and passed it to Yunjian. This is a letter that my master wrote to you. He said that he wants you to read this letter before making a decision. Yunjian was sitting lazily on the lawn, her arms resting on both sides of her body, her eyes narrowed. Seeing Steward Xue pass a letter to her, she accepted it and quickly opened the envelope to skim through its contents. After reading the letter, Yunjian tore it into pieces in front of everyone. Then she stood up and said to Steward Zhua, "Let's go." Steward Zhua was skeptical at first. Before he came to look for Yun Jian, his master had said that Yun Jian would never agree to save his young master. However, his master had given him a letter saying that Yun Jian would definitely agree after reading it. Where are we going? Steward Zhua didn't know how to react. By then, Yun Jian had already informed Lin Wan and Mu Ying and walked away. After Steward Zhua asked, Yun Jian's voice came from afar. "Your young master is beyond saving if we're late." Did Yun Jian mean that? She agreed. Steward Zhua didn't know how to react. Chapter 1756. Yun Jian's change in attitude caught everyone off guard. Why did she agree? Mu Ying and Lin Wan didn't understand why Yun Jian had agreed, but Yun Jian must have her reasons for doing so. Seeing Yun Jian walk away, the girl who had mocked Yun Jian at first, but was later shocked by Yun Jian's actions, her face darkened. Since Steward Zhua could enter the school through the main entrance, he could definitely take Yun Jian out immediately. Moreover, Steward Zhua's family was very powerful. It wouldn't be difficult for him to take Yun Jian out of the school first. Steward Zhua was the steward of the Shen family. The Shen family was a wealthy family in Jiang province, not far from Zhe province. The Shen family was built by Steward Zhua's father. The Shen family was a wealthy family. Strictly speaking, although they weren't as rich as the Luo Berry family, in this era, a wealthy family like the Shen family was an existence that ordinary people could only look up to. They were an existence that ordinary people would never be able to touch in their entire lives. The Shen family had a private helicopter. Steward Zhua took the private helicopter from Jiang province to Min City in Zhe province. The helicopter flew for more than an hour before Yun Jian arrived in Jiang province. Nanqing, Jiang province. Nanqing was the richest and most prosperous area in Jiang province. Although Nanqing wasn't as developed as Zhe province, it wasn't that bad either. Steward Zhua took Yun Jian directly to the Nanqing People's Hospital. According to him, his young master had been sent to the Nanqing People's Hospital. He was relying on the hospital's equipment to keep him alive. He was in a coma. In this state, he could only hold on for 3 more days. Steward Zhua took Yun Jian all the way to the operating room. However, halfway there, Steward Zhua, who was taking Yun Jian, encountered a group of people. This group of people had sad faces. They were obviously the young master's family and friends. Yun Jian, who was standing at the side, could see that this group of people was worried about the young master's life because of the car accident. Although everyone in this group of people looked depressed, some of them were pretending, and some of them were really so. When they saw Steward Zhua, an elegant woman who was holding a handkerchief ready to wipe her tears, but Yun Jian could not see any hint of sadness in her, called out to Steward Zhua, "Steward Zhua, Steward Zhua. Steward Zhua, Master asked you to bring the hand of death from the medical world here. Why did you bring this little girl here? Is this little girl Xueqi's girlfriend?" The woman glanced at Yun Jian from left to right. Yun Jian could clearly feel that the woman didn't like her. Xueqi was the young master that Steward Zhua mentioned, Shen Xueqi. As for this woman, her name was Hua Wenru. She was Shen Xueqi's stepmother. When Hua Wenru saw Yun Jian, her face was full of disgust. When she first saw Yun Jian, she thought that Yun Jian was so beautiful. Could she be Shen Xueqi's girlfriend, who had seduced Shen Xueqi to fight for the Shen family's inheritance? Therefore, Hua Wenru didn't wait for Steward Zhua to explain. She decided on an identity for Yun Jian herself. Then, she started nagging at Yun Jian. "Little girl, you're so young, but you're so cunning. Our Xueqi doesn't want a girlfriend like you. Hurry up and leave." Hua Wenru glared fiercely at Yun Jian. She didn't look like the stepmother who was wiping her tears with a handkerchief when she found out that Shen Xueqi was dying. Yun Jian's eyes flashed. "That's right. Our big brother doesn't want a girlfriend like you. Big brother has been in an accident for so long, and you're only here to see him now." Scram. A young girl standing next to Hua Wenru actually shed tears. She really thought that Yun Jian was Shen Xueqi's girlfriend after Hua Wenru's words. Therefore, she immediately shouted at Yun Jian angrily. However, just as Hua Wenru was about to use even more vicious words to chase Yun Jian away, Steward Zhua angrily introduced Yun Jian to the young girl who was talking about Yun Jian to all of Shen Xiaocheng's friends and family. Chapter 1757. Steward Zhua had no time to explain to these people blocking the way. If he continued to explain, would his young master still have a chance to live? So Steward Zhua finished speaking and pushed away the group of people in front of him, intending to lead Yun Jian to the hospital's operating room first. Hua Wenru, the girl just now really thought that Yun Jian was young Master Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend, especially Hua Wenru. When she scolded Yun Jian just now, anyone with a discerning eye would know that she was scolding Yun Jian for being vain. As for the other girl who scolded Yun Jian, it was purely because of Hua Wenru's words that made her run away. That girl was Shen Xiaoqing's biological sister, named Shen Bai. Shen Bai listened to Hua Wenru's words and really thought that Yun Jian was Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend, so she scolded Yun Jian. Her brother Shen Xiaoqing had an accident for some time. If Yun Jian was really her brother's girlfriend, where was she when her brother had an accident? Why didn't she come to see her brother? But after listening to Steward Zhua's words, Shen Bai was slightly stunned. Yun Jian was actually the legendary hand of death in the medical world. After recovering from her shock, Shen Bai softly apologized to Yun Jian. "I'm sorry, I just mistakenly thought that you were my brother's girlfriend." Shen Bai was still considered a good girl. She was so emotional just now because her brother Shen Xiaoqing had such an accident these few days, so it was inevitable that she would be emotional. But Hua Wenru was different. She couldn't wait for Steward Zhua to fail to invite the hand of death and for Shen Xiaoqing to die. When she saw Steward Zhua bring Yun Jian over, Hua Wenru was already certain that Yun Jian was definitely not the hand of death, so she just spoke up to find a reason to suppress Yun Jian. But Hua Wenru never thought that Yun Jian was really the hand of death in the medical world. This can't be true. How old is she? She's about the same age as Shen Xiaoqing and Shen Bai. How could she be the famous hand of death in the medical world? The hand of the Grim Reaper that could bring back the dead. Stop right there. Hua Wenru rolled her eyes and shouted at Steward Zhua, who was about to bring Yun Jian to the rescue. Steward Zhua, even if you can't get the Grim Reaper's hand to help you, you shouldn't get a little girl to make up the numbers, right? This is related to young master's life. On the surface, Hua Wenru looked like she was always thinking for Shen Xiaoqing, but in fact, she just wanted to stall for time. He didn't believe that Yun Jian was the hand of death. This was one of the reasons. More importantly, what if Yun Jian really was the hand of death and saved Shen Xiaoqing? Hua Wenru did not give birth to a son or a daughter for the Shen family. She only hoped that after Shen Xiaoqing died, she could give birth to a son to inherit the Shen family's business. Madam, it can't be wrong. She was the hand of death. Steward Zhua still couldn't tell that Hua Wenru was stalling for time. He wanted to continue explaining to Hua Wenru, but when he turned his head, he saw that Yun Jian had already walked to the operating room. My time is limited. If you continue to stall for time, you'll have to give me half of the Shen family's fortune in exchange for saving your young master. Yun Jian walked forward with her hands in her trouser pockets and said calmly and leisurely. In the end, Yun Jian added, I believe that compared to a son, it's only half of the family's fortune. Your old master will give you that. After she finished speaking, Yun Jian's lips curved into a cold arc. These two sentences were completely directed at Hua Wenru. If you continue to stall for time, you might even lose half of the family's fortune in the fight for inheritance. After hearing Yun Jian's words, Hua Wenru was really angry and annoyed. However, she really didn't say anything else. Instead, she looked at Yun Jian's receding figure and clenched her fists angrily. Yun Jian followed Steward Zhua all the way to the door of the operating room. At the door of the operating room stood a man in his 50s. Half of his hair was already white. The moment he saw Steward Zhua and Yun Jian, the man hurried forward to welcome them. Great sorcerer goddess. The man walked over and was about to kneel before Yun Jian in the same way that commoners in Yulong mainland would greet the great sorcerer goddess. Yun Jian's eyes flashed slightly. She replied calmly, I'm here. There's no need to greet me. Chapter 1758. After Xin Wei heard Yun Jian's words, he did not insist on bowing. After all, this was a hospital, and there were many people coming and going. If he, a man in his 50s,
publicly knelt before Yunjian, a teenage girl, the people around him would probably think that he was crazy. Yes, Shen Wei was from the Yulong continent. Of course, simply because Shen Wei was from the Yulong continent, it naturally did not affect Yunjian's desire to save him. What really affected Yunjian's desire to save him was, "Do you really have a way to restore all my memories from my past life?" Yunjian raised her eyebrows and looked at Shen Wei with an extremely cold expression.
Yes.
"But to help you restore all your memories of the sorcerer god, I have to pay a high price, so I hope that you can help me with one more thing after you save my son," Shen Wei said to Yunjian. Steward Zhua was also from the Yulong continent, so there was no need to avoid talking about this in front of him.
"What is it?" Yunjian pursed her lips and said,
"Can you be my personal bodyguard and protect my daughter, Shen Bai, for a month? My son, Shen Xiaoqing, didn't become like this because of a car accident, it was caused by someone. I'm afraid that person will harm my daughter again." Shen Wei thought of this and frowned as he spoke to Yunjian. "I know this is a difficult task, but you are the sorcerer god, how can you protect people like us who have no status in the Yulong continent?" Shen Wei thought that he had put Yunjian in a difficult position, and even he himself felt that he was asking too much of Yunjian. Just as he was about to say something else, Yunjian interrupted him. "Deal. Protect Shen Wei's daughter for a month, save Shen Xiaoqing, and get all her memories from her past life." This was a very good deal. Last time when she was absorbing the memories transmitted from the sandalwood box, she was interrupted halfway, and Yunjian only remembered part of it. She always felt that she had forgotten something important. Moreover, she should be able to find traces of the mysterious person from her past life's memories. At this moment, Ce was not here. If Ce was here, he would definitely stop Yunjian from recovering her memories. In his previous life, Ce had sacrificed too much for Yunjian. He didn't want Yunjian to know because he didn't want her to feel apologetic towards him. He would rather she never recover her memory than remember that she once went to settle accounts with the mysterious man. Because he was there for her. He would take back everything that he owed her. Shen Wei had already prepared everything for the surgery because he had expected Yunjian to come. When Yunjian arrived, Shen Wei and Yunjian exchanged a few words before Yunjian entered the operating room. 2 hours later, Yunjian removed the surgical tools and walked out of the operating room.
"How is it?"
Hua Wenru, who was standing at the entrance, was the first to rush over and ask. Outsiders thought that Hua Wenru was worried about Shen Xiaoqing's life. That was right. Hua Wenru was worried about Shen Xiaoqing's life. However, she was only worried about whether Shen Xiaoqing was dead or alive. Yunjian ignored Hua Wenru. She turned to look at Shen Wei and said, "Your son will wake up in 3 hours." Although Shen Wei already knew that this would be the result, he still heaved a deep sigh of relief after hearing Yunjian's words. "Master, it's good that Xiaoqing is fine."
"It's good that he's fine."
Hua Wenru stood beside Shen Wei and pretended to be relieved. However, she turned her head and glared at Yunjian fiercely. This little bitch actually saved Shen Xiaoqing. His life is no longer in danger. I have to go back and do something. I'll come back a day later as scheduled, Yunjian said to Shen Wei. She had been Shen Bai's bodyguard for a month. During this month, she had to ask for leave from the school and explain to Qin Yiru that she could disappear for a month for no reason. Moreover, she had to explain the reason to Ce. Otherwise, he would come looking for her. In fact, even if Yunjian didn't say anything, Ce would still come looking for her no matter where she went. For some reason, Yunjian felt that Ce didn't want her to remember her past life. Therefore, Yunjian didn't tell Ce the details. Chapter 1759. Yunjian returned to Longmen City after that. First, she contacted Lan Su to postpone her trip to Dongdong province to ask for an envelope containing her master's contact number from the head of the martial arts family for a month. She then went back to settle Luo Mei down and explained to Qin Yiru before returning to Min City's military academy to apply for a month's leave. Yunjian's ability was outstanding, so it was not difficult for her to apply for a month's leave in school. Qin Yiru was aware of her identity now. Before she left, Qin Yiru reminded her to be careful of her own safety, and to remember one thing no matter what danger she encountered. Don't treat your life as a joke. It's not scary to lose anything because you still have us. Hearing Qin Yiru's words, Yunjian's heart warmed. A day later, Yunjian arrived at the Shen residence as scheduled. The Shen family's villa was similar to Gu Yunjian's. The style was grander and classy, so it was presentable. By then, Yunjian had already entered the Shen family's house. When Xueqi saw Yunjian, he gave her a small bow and brought Yunjian to the study to discuss business. Hua Wenru clenched her fists tightly when she saw this. This little slut, she couldn't be thinking of seducing his master, right? In the study, Yunjian sat in front of the desk in the study while Xueqi stood beside her, looking at her submissively with his head lowered. If an outsider were to see this, they would be scared to death. Xueqi was a prominent figure in the southern part of the province. For such a prominent figure to be so respectful to a teenage girl, would it not be frightening? Yunjian played with the black pen in her hand as she listened to Xueqi introduce the Shen family's current situation to her lazily. Xueqi, was originally the pride of an aristocratic family in the Yulong continent. Although my Shen family is not even a 10,000th of the sorcerer tribe, it's still not bad. Xueqi, was originally the heir of the Shen family, but I was framed and chased out of the Yulong continent. Xueqi was originally the heir of the Shen family in the Yulong continent. After being framed, he was chased out of the Yulong continent. As he had nowhere to go, he left the Yulong continent with steward Zhua, who was willing to follow him, and came to Earth. Then, she met Shen Xiaoqing and Shen Bai's biological mother, so she settled down on Earth. Shen Xiaocheng and Shen Bai's mother died early due to illness. For the sake of their children, Xueqi had no choice but to remarry. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. Xueqi realized that he was not the only one from the Yulong continent. In the southern part of the province, there were many people from the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent. Not only did these people form cliques, but they also severely suppressed the aristocratic families who did not join them. Xueqi's daughter, Shen Bai, was studying at Meteor Aristocrat Academy. Many of the students in the academy were descendants of aristocratic families in Yulong mainland. Xueqi's son, Shen Xiaocheng, had an accident, and these people couldn't get away with it. Because Xueqi refused to join them and collude with them, this group of people made a move on him. Because we can't use spiritual power on Earth, we fight openly. The descendants of these aristocratic families have been practicing their skills since they were young, so their strength shouldn't be underestimated. But fortunately, we can't use spiritual power on Earth. When I was chased out of the Yulong continent, all my spiritual power was crippled. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to deal with them at all. Xueqi sighed. After listening to Xueqi's words, Yunjian's hand that was twirling the black pen paused. Her eyes flashed sharply. You're saying that the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent rely on their own abilities to suppress the aristocratic families who don't cooperate with them? Yes. This was the point that troubled him. Chapter 1760. The sorcerer goddess was not only the supreme existence that the people of Yulong mainland worshipped and revered, she was also the symbol of Yulong mainland. The symbol of an eternal and undefeated existence. With the sorcerer goddess, the sorcerer race would definitely prosper. With the sorcerer goddess in Yulong mainland, other than the god's mainland, in the vast universe, no other mainland could be compared to Yulong mainland. This was the value of the sorcerer goddess's existence. She was a god. She was the symbol of Yulong mainland. In Yulong mainland, if the sorcerer goddess appeared in front of the aristocratic families of Yulong mainland, it would be like a bolt from the blue to those aristocratic families. Even Xueqi was dazed for a moment when he first saw Yunjian. He had really seen the godlike existence that he had never been able to touch in the Shen family of Yulong mainland. The sorcerer goddess never went back on her words. With the sorcerer goddess around, those aristocratic families who had always done bad things were done for. Xueqi heaved a sigh of relief. The Shen family was influential, so it was not difficult for them to transfer Yunjian to Meteor Academy for nobles midway through her studies. Dad, do you want Sister Grim Reaper to go to school with me? Early in the morning, Shenbai blinked and asked Xueqi when she saw Yunjian standing in front of her with a shoulder bag. Shenbai was 15 years old this year. Because of her excellent grades, she was smart and eager to learn, so she had skipped 2 grades. She was now in her second year of high school in Meteor Academy. Meteor Academy was a joint school between middle school and high school. But Meteor Academy was an aristocratic academy. Here, you could only enter if you had money. Furthermore, the teachers and the environment of Meteor Academy were all top-notch. Shenbai was actually quite adorable. Aside from the fact that she was misled by Hua Wenru when she first saw Yun Jian and said some unpleasant things to her, Shenbai was actually quite adorable. However, Shenbai had also apologized. Ever since Yun Jian saved her brother, Shenbai had been calling Yun Jian Sister Grim Reaper. Yun Jian did not have any objections and smiled faintly at Shenbai. Don't tell others that sister is the hand of Grim Reaper. This will bring trouble to big sister. Shenwei shouted at Shenbai. Dad, I got it. Shenbai stuck her tongue out at Shenwei and then walked over to Yun Jian. Halfway through, she turned around and glanced at Shenwei. Dad, take good care of big brother. We'll be leaving first. Watch the road. Slow down. Shenwei looked at his daughter Shenbai's departing figure with heartache. He smiled kindly and said, her home wasn't close to the school, but it wasn't far either. However, Shenbai never took a private car. She was very independent and always ran to school while exercising. Yun Jian appreciated this. After Yun Jian followed Shenbai into the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, Shenbai led Yun Jian all the way to the classroom of Grade 2-1. Yun Jian came to the school to protect Shenbai, so she was naturally arranged to be in the same classroom. Sister Grim Reaper, there's still a seat at the back of the classroom. I might have to trouble you to sit at the back of the classroom first because our class has arranged the seating chart before. Shenbai looked at Yun Jian apologetically. It's fine. Yun Jian smiled at Shenbai. Early in the morning, Yun Jian had just accompanied Shenbai to the classroom and attracted the attention of many students in the class. Among them, a rich boy walked up to Yun Jian and looked at Yun Jian flirtatiously. Yo, a transfer student? Little girl, you're quite pretty, aren't you? Just as he said this, suddenly, a series of exclamations came from the field outside the classroom. Ah! Young Master Lang is here. Young Master Lang is so handsome. Our young Master Lin is still more handsome. He's indeed one of the 3 school hunks in our school. Oh my God! I'm about to faint from how handsome he is. Such words kept ringing out. When Shenbai heard this, she put down the school bag in her hand in an uproar and said to Yun Jian, Sister, I'll go take a look. Then she ran out. Yun Jian's mission was to protect Shenbai, so naturally, she had to be by her side at all times. Seeing this, she swung her hand and the school bag in her hand flew directly to the empty seat at the back of the classroom from a distance of more than 10 meters. Under the horrified expressions of the large group of students in the classroom and the rich boy who wanted to hit on her, she turned and left the classroom. Chapter 1761. Because of Yun Jian's move, the classroom was in an uproar. However, after the rich boy finished speaking, a boy immediately became unhappy and retorted, It's just a coincidence. It's just like playing basketball. If you're lucky, a girl can also score 10 goals in a row. The boy who said this was naturally envious of Yun Jian's move just now. He felt that Yun Jian's move just now should not have appeared on a girl. If he could have Yun Jian's move just now and perform it in front of everyone, especially those gullible girls, wouldn't he be able to receive exclamations? It was a pity that the girls were not in the classroom right now. These 2 girls were all attracted by the 3 school hunks of Meteor Aristocrat Academy, who had just entered the school gate. Yun Jian followed behind Shenbai. She looked at Shenbai as if she had won $1 million. She was so excited that it was as if she had seen a mountain of Grandpa Mao and rushed towards the field. While Shenbai was running, Yun Jian was strolling in that direction. Although Yun Jian's footsteps were slow, her pace was not slow. She could still catch up to Shenbai's pace. The crowd on the field was already in an uproar. Most of the people on the field were girls. One by one, they were screaming as if the rain from the sky was Grandpa Mao. However, in the distance, a boy wearing sunglasses and 2 other boys wearing branded clothes got out of 3 luxurious sports cars. It was not hard to tell that these 3 people were the targets of this group of people's screams. Shenbai stopped running when she was 20 meters away from the crowd. She jumped to a place where she could stand very high and see further. She looked at the one wearing sunglasses among the 3 boys. Yun Jian simply sat beside Shenbai with a lazy look on her face. After about 10 minutes,
The three boys were surrounded by a group of girls as they walked over. However, they passed by this place. Because Shenbai was standing very high, among the three boys, the gentler-looking boy turned his head to look at Shenbai. However, Shenbai did not look at this gentle-looking boy. Her eyes were fixed on the boy in sunglasses in the distance, who was called young Master Lung. This pretty good-looking boy with sunglasses and a cold face was called Lang Yichen. He was one of the 3 school hunks of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy. He was handsome and cold, and was the future target of many girls. As for the other 2, they were also one of the 3 school hunks of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. The gentle and elegant boy was called Song Zilin, and the sloppy boy was called Gong Shangjin. The family backgrounds of the 3 of them were among the best in the entire Z nation. At this moment, the 3 boys were surrounded by a large group of girls. When they passed by Yun Jian and Shenbai, who was standing at a high place, Shenbai screamed at the boy wearing sunglasses. Cold! Before her voice fell, Yun Jian's eyes suddenly flashed sharply. In the next second, she saw a young girl in the distance holding a water sprayer, spraying water in the direction of Yun Jian and Shenbai. It was obvious that she did it on purpose. Yun Jian's eyes flashed slightly, and in the next second, she suddenly flew up. Because there were girls surrounding the 3 boys, Yun Jian and Shenbai's location was very empty. Therefore, Yun Jian's action of flying up was very attractive. This time, not only did the girls chasing the 3 school hunks see this scene, even the 3 school hunks saw it. They saw Yun Jian fly over Shenbai, who was standing at a high place. In a short 3 seconds, she turned around and brought Shenbai to a place less than 10 meters away from the sprayer. Chapter 1762. Because Yun Jian's actions were too eye-catching, the surrounding people all looked over. The 3 school hunks also noticed Yun Jian. However, they saw Yun Jian standing more than 10 meters away, unscathed. She brought Shenbai along and nimbly avoided the spray of the water spray. Yun Jian's slender and perfect figure was also presented in front of everyone. Seeing his brother Lang Yichen stop and look at Yun Jian, Song Zilin raised his eyebrows. It was rare for his brother Lang Yichen to stop and look at a young girl. "Chen, why aren't you moving?" Song Zilin asked. After Yun Jian, who was standing in the distance, pulled Shenbai away from the spray of the water spray, Shenbai reacted and said angrily, "It's Lin Xueqi. It's not the first time she's done this to me." After saying that, Shenbai pointed at the place where the water spray came from and said hatefully, "Lin Xueqi, you're shameless. I don't have any grudges with you. Why do you have to go against me every time?" Seeing that Shenbai had noticed her, Lin Xueqi, who was hiding in the dark, walked out. "Ah, it's our school's beauty. It's not the first time she's done this to Shenbai in public." "That's right. I think our school's beauty can't stand girls being nice to young Master Lang. I won't dare to like young Master Lang in the future. If the school's beauty goes against me, then I'm done for." Countless female exclamations immediately sounded from the surroundings. Lin Xueqi was the school beauty of Meteor Aristocratic Academy. She was beautiful and came from a rich family. Usually, if a girl dared to pursue Lang Yichen, Lin Xueqi would definitely make that girl unable to survive in the academy. The person who sprayed Yun Jian and Shenbai with the water spray was Lin Xueqi's little follower. After Lin Xueqi walked over, she glanced coldly at Yun Jian and Shenbai. Then she turned her head and said to Shenbai, "With a small aristocratic family like your Shen family, you actually dare to have designs on young Master Lang. Do you not want to survive in the academy anymore?" Many of the young masters and young ladies of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy were descendants of aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. In the academy, these young masters and ladies from the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent had never even been to the Yulong continent. They had only heard about the Yulong continent from their elders. There was also the legend of the sorcerer god, the supreme existence of the Yulong continent. Here, the clans of the Yulong continent were generally referred to as aristocratic families. Not only were Lin Xueqi's elders from Yulong mainland, but even the elders of the 3 school hunks were from Yulong mainland. In fact, many people in the academy knew about the legend of the Yulong continent. However, it was just a legend. The elders of these young masters and ladies came from the Yulong continent, but that was hundreds or thousands of years ago. As for whether the Yulong continent really existed or how to return to the Yulong continent, These people had no idea at all. Therefore, the Meteor Aristocrat Academy had formed a style. That was, in this place, those who were young ladies or young masters of aristocratic families had a higher status. Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, the three school hunks, had the highest status in their families. Therefore, in the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, their status was also the highest. Next was Lin Xueqi's family. Yun Jian had also heard about these things from Xin Wei. She did not expect that there would be so many aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. Hundreds or thousands of years ago, after the entrance to the human world from the Yulong continent was opened, they migrated to Earth. Yun Jian sneered. Lin Xueqi scolded Xin Bai. Xin Bai was afraid that the Lin family would implicate the Xin family, so she really did not say anything. Seeing this, Lang Yichen wanted to turn and leave. She was just a descendant of a small aristocratic family. However, at the moment when Lang Yichen and the other two were about to leave, they saw Lin Xueqi on the other side seeing how beautiful Yun Jian was. She was actually prettier than herself, and jealousy grew in her heart. Which aristocratic family are you from? Lin Xueqi looked askance at Yun Jian and asked disdainfully. She guessed that Yun Jian was just a young lady from an unknown aristocratic family, or perhaps she was not from an aristocratic family at all. Lin Xueqi thought confidently. Do you really want to know who I am? Yun Jian sneered back. This crisp and pleasant voice made Lang Yichen and the other two who were about to leave stop in their tracks and look curiously at Yun Jian. Of course. Lin Xueqi was waiting to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself, so she hurriedly spoke up. However, they saw that Yun Jian, who was standing in front of everyone, in front of all the girls around her, including the three school hunks Lang Yichen, Lin Xueqi, Shen Bai and everyone else, stopped smiling. Her expression was indifferent, like a revered king, and she said indifferently, Listen, I will only answer the question of who I am once. Chapter 1763. I am the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess who has been in charge of the survival of the Yulong continent for generations. This sentence spread around the field of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. Yun Jian stood where she was, her cold eyes sweeping across the crowd. Her slender figure stood upright in front of everyone, as if she was a god who held the power to kill. This sentence also spread to the ears of everyone present. It also spread to the ears of Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, Gong Shangjin, as well as the campus belle Lin Xueqi, who was standing in front of Yun Jian. It stirred up the fiery hearts of this group of people, causing everyone present to be flabbergasted. What did you say? You are the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess? The legendary sorcerer god. Lin Xueqi had the biggest reaction when she heard Yun Jian's words. She covered her mouth on the spot and screamed. Lang Yichen, who was looking at Yun Jian with a calm expression, as if he was watching an interesting show, also took off the sunglasses he had been wearing on his face in shock. Song Zilin's handsome face also revealed a look of horror. Gong Shangjin immediately put away his sloppy look and became serious. At the same time, he stared at Yun Jian with a serious look, his brows furrowed into a bumpy hill. As for Shen Bai, who was standing next to Yun Jian, she was completely dumbfounded. How could she be the witch goddess of the Yulong continent? Isn't the Yulong continent a legendary place? And isn't the witch goddess a legendary god? How could she appear here? An ordinary girl who did not know the situation looked at Yun Jian. In order to please the campus belle Lin Xueqi, she sneered at Yun Jian. Why was this ordinary girl called ordinary? That was because many of the people in the Meteor Aristocrat Academy were young ladies and young masters of aristocratic families who had migrated from the Yulong continent thousands of years ago. Obviously, this ordinary girl was not a young lady of an aristocratic family. After this ordinary girl finished speaking to Yun Jian, the surroundings fell into a dead silence. Even Lin Xueqi didn't immediately respond to this ordinary girl's words. Even though Lin Xueqi really hoped that Yun Jian was just like what this ordinary girl had said, that she was not the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. But, after the ordinary girl finished speaking, the scene fell silent. In the end, it was Song Zilin, who was as gentle as a gentleman, who stood up and explained. Cough cough, this. All the descendants of the aristocratic families know that no one can impersonate the sorcerer god of Yulong mainland. Once someone impersonates him, they'll be destroyed. This calamity will happen without you knowing. You will die in a few days, and you won't be able to find out the reason. Speaking of this, Song Zilin clenched his fist and placed it in front of his mouth. He coughed a few times as if to ease the awkward atmosphere. He looked at Yun Jian in front of everyone and continued to speak. What she said just now, if you're not a member of an aristocratic family, you won't know that the sorcerer goddess is the daughter of the sorcerer clan of Yulong Continent. She's the one who controls the life and death of Yulong Continent. So she's a member of an aristocratic family. As a member of an aristocratic family, she must know that impersonating the sorcerer goddess will result in her being cursed and dying mysteriously. Even if she's stupid, she wouldn't joke about her own life. Once, there was a girl from the Song family who impersonated the sorcerer goddess as a joke. In the end, in less than 3 days, she was strangely run over by a truck and died. In the eyes of everyone, Song Zilin was usually a gentlemanly young master. He was also very nice and never lied or spouted nonsense. His temperament was completely different from Lang Yichen, who was extremely cold and wore sunglasses. Even if a girl he didn't know fell to the ground, Song Zilin would walk over to help her. At this critical juncture, Song Zilin's analysis of this matter was very organized and clear. After listening to Song Zilin's analysis, everyone present looked at Yun Jian and paused. However, Song Zilin's words were heard clearly again. His words made everyone swallow their saliva. There was a moment of panic. Chapter 1764. When Lin Xueqi heard Yun Jian admit that she was the sorcerer goddess, she wanted to fight back like a normal girl against Yun Jian. However, as the daughter of a large family, Lin Xueqi knew the consequences of impersonating the sorcerer goddess. If Yun Jian impersonated the sorcerer goddess, she would be cursed. Of course, the person who impersonated the sorcerer goddess must know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess and use her identity to obtain something or gain someone's trust. Only then would this terrifying curse be effective on her. If Yun Jian was not the sorcerer goddess, then this curse would have already been effective. Everyone blinked. They did not expect that impersonating the sorcerer goddess would result in such an outcome. If they were to accidentally impersonate the sorcerer god, those who don't know will not be cursed if they impersonate the sorcerer goddess. Song Zilin once again spoke out the fear in everyone's hearts. After a pause, Song Zilin continued to joke with the large group of ordinary girls who were chasing after Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, who were oblivious to the situation. Just now, Song Zilin said. However, let me tell you a very bad news. Now that you know, if you dare to impersonate the sorcerer goddess, you will be cursed. As soon as this was said, everyone trembled. Yun Jian, who was standing in the distance, narrowed her eyes and did not speak. This curse did exist. It was set by her when she was the sorcerer goddess. It was to prevent people from impersonating her from the Yulong continent. Of course, Yun Jian did not expect that there were people from the Yulong continent on Earth. What was even more unexpected was that these people from the Yulong continent brought the legend of the sorcerer goddess to Earth and let so many people know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Of course, this curse was only effective on people who knew about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Therefore, in the past, Yun Jian was not worried that the people on Earth would be cursed because of this. Now that people from the Yulong continent's families had come to Earth and so many people knew about this. Sister Death God, why does such a terrifying curse exist? Shen Bai was good in her studies and had a good ability to accept things. She had already reacted and accepted Yun Jian. At this moment, Shen Bai turned her head and asked Yun Jian in front of everyone. Because of Song Zilin's words, everyone present turned their eyes to Yun Jian. Their eyes also followed Yun Jian closely. After Shen Bai asked this question, everyone stared at Yun Jian as if they were waiting for Yun Jian's reply. Song Zilin said that if Yun Jian dared to say that she was the witch god, then she must be the legendary witch god. The people around them were all students, and students were generally more curious. Everyone wanted to know more about the strange curses. Thus, all of them turned to look at Yun Jian. Even Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin were looking at Yun Jian, waiting for her reply. You really want to know? Yun Jian turned her head slightly and looked at Shen Bai from the corner of her eyes. She smiled slightly and said softly. When Yun Jian said this, Shen Bai quickly nodded. Yes, yes. Sister Death God, I want to know why. At this moment, everyone's focus was no longer on why Shen Bai called Yun Jian Sister Death God. Everyone's hearts tightened for no reason.
At this moment, Yun Jian's smile suddenly disappeared in front of everyone and she said coldly, I was cursed by the witch god. I, the witch god, have protected the witch race for thousands of years in the Yulong continent. I once defeated 1009 continents who invaded and slandered my Yulong continent. I once led the Yulong continent to become an existence second only to the gods' continent among the tens of millions of continents in the vast universe. Chapter 1765. Yun Jian's words reverberated throughout the entire place. Everyone who heard her words had a moment of horror and shock. Especially the young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families. At this moment, a large group of people were dumbfounded as they listened to Yun Jian's words. They opened and closed their mouths, but in the end, no words came out. The young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families had only heard the elders of their families mention what Yun Jian said. In this vast universe, there were tens of millions of continents. That's right, there were tens of millions of worlds like the Yulong continent other than Earth. However, these tens of millions of continents were all connected to each other. There was no way to go to Earth alone, or to go from Earth to the tens of millions of continents directly. Even if the top masters of the tens of millions of continents wanted to go to Earth, there was no way at all. Earth and the continents were like two unrelated worlds, each living their own lives. Until a few thousand years ago, the Lord God of the Gods continent forcibly tore open the passage from the Yulong continent to Earth, connecting the two places that would never be connected. As for Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, Gong Shangjin, Lin Xueqi, Xin Bai, and the other ancestors of the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent, they came here through that passage. However, hundreds of years ago, the passage collapsed, so the aristocratic families of Lang Yichen and the others did not know how to return to the Yulong continent. After settling down on Earth for a few generations, their understanding of the Yulong continent could only be found through the records of their ancestors or the books passed down. Undoubtedly, these people did not know that the stone cave in the ancient tomb was the entrance to the Yulong continent. Of course, even if these people knew, they could not go back because it had been passed down for generations. The ancestors who had the strength of the Yulong continent had passed away, leaving behind Lang Yichen and the others who were only descendants of the aristocratic families. They did not have the ability to pass through the stone cave at all. However, whether it was Lang Yichen or the descendants of the aristocratic families present, they had all subconsciously heard that the Yulong continent was at the bottom of the tens of millions of continents. The women of the Yulong continent were so lowly that any man from the continent could violate them. The people of the Yulong continent lived a life worse than death. That was the fate of the weak. However, at that time, the daughter of the Sorcerer clan led the Sorcerer clan to rule the entire Yulong continent. In just a few decades, the Yulong continent became an existence second only to the gods' continent. Among the tens of millions of continents, the Yulong continent was originally the lowest level continent. However, the Sorcerer clan's daughter led it to the peak of the tens of millions of continents. It could be said that the Yulong continent was the strongest continent because of the Sorcerer continent's continent at that time. This matter had shaken the entire universe at that time. The Sorcerer's Battle. As for the deities' continent, it was a hidden continent. The people living on the deities' continent were all deities. Gods of the continents, gods of the continent of the world continent would be continent. There were even rumors that the sorcerer god had once killed a deity from the deity's continent. Had it all of the people's SSSS world continent and of the S. When they first heard it, they were all frightened. However, the fear at that time was not as shocking as what Yun Jian had just said. What Lang Yichen and the others had heard at that time was only a rough idea. Yun Jian had just told them the details that they did not know. People who weren't there wouldn't be able to understand this kind of shocking feeling. There was no doubt that Yun Jian, as the sorcerer god, was a strong person. How strong was she? Chapter 1766. After Yun Jian finished speaking, a large group of people stood around her. There were at least a few hundred people. But whether it was the group of girls who chased after Lang Yichen's group, or Lin Xueqi and Xin Bai, at this moment, everyone was stupefied and speechless. When Yun Jian said what she said just now, it was as if the people around her could see the smoky battlefield. And the sorcerer goddess's body that made people tremble. Lin Xueqi swallowed hard.
When she came back to her senses, she saw that Lang Yichen, whom she admired, was looking at Yun Jian with great interest. Seeing this, Lin Chui's hands suddenly clenched into fists. Who cared if she was the sorcerer goddess or not? How dare she attract the attention of her man? She must have a death wish. Don't talk as if you're really the sorcerer goddess. Young Master Lin just said that you're the sorcerer goddess. Do you really think you're the sorcerer goddess? Besides, we don't even know if that curse is effective. What if you mysteriously die in a few days? What if you're a fake? Heh, I don't believe such a made-up lie unless you're really the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. Lin Chui's eyes turned. She suddenly remembered what Song Zilin said just now. He only said that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess, but he couldn't be sure that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess. After she finished speaking, the crowd that was silent from Yun Jian's words instantly came back to their senses. Lin Chui's words rang out again. At this moment, Lin Chui suddenly thought of a very important point. She said confidently in front of everyone, "Oh right, our Lin family's ancestors once recorded that the sorcerer goddess had fallen thousands of years ago. They also left behind a sentence." When Lin Chui said this, many of the surrounding students' curiosity was piqued by Lin Chui. "Chui, what is it? Tell us quickly, everyone is curious." A few girls standing beside Lin Chui curiously asked Lin Chui with intimate words. Lin Chui's family was a big family, and Lin Chui had a high status in the family. Therefore, some of the girls in the school were proud to be friends with Lin Chui. Hearing the people's interest, Lin Chui was even more confident that Yun Jian was definitely a fake. She definitely couldn't say the words that the sorcerer goddess had said. Therefore, Lin Chui confidently raised her head and said to Yun in front of everyone, "If you're really the sorcerer goddess, then you should know what this sentence means, right?" She definitely couldn't. Lin Chui lifted her head confidently and looked at Yun Jian in disdain. And Lin Chui could feel that Lang Yichen was looking at her. This made Chui feel that her spring was a new for a moment. To say, Choi Lin Lin's was talking to of, ASU's least, Lin Asazazes. Yun Jian almost sneered. After a pause, Yun Jian couldn't be bothered with Lin Chui anymore. She turned to Shen Bai and said, "Let's go." Yun Jian really couldn't be bothered with Lin Chui, nor Lang Yichen and the other two. But seeing Yun Jian like this, Lin Chui felt that her guess was right. "Humph, you really aren't the sorcerer goddess. I knew it, the sorcerer goddess isn't like you. You can't even say the words before the sorcerer goddess fell. I'm waiting for you to die mysteriously because you're impersonating the sorcerer goddess." Lin Chui suddenly felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, Yun Jian wasn't the sorcerer goddess. Humph, she actually dared to impersonate the sorcerer goddess. This girl was really bold. Lang Yichen and the other two didn't say anything. Lin Chui really thought that she was right. She knew it. How could the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent be here? In the beginning, Lin Chui still had some doubts about whether Yun Jian was the legendary sorcerer goddess. But look, now that she had been seen through, she was about to turn around and run away. Just as Lin Chui was very confident that Yun Jian was about to leave, a loud voice called out to Yun Jian. "Young lady, wait." Hearing this voice, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. She turned halfway and glanced at the old man who called out to her. This was an old man in his 50s or 60s. Behind the old man was a large family. "Grandpa, why are you here?" Lang Yichen saw the old man and walked over to ask him. Chapter 1767. It was obvious that Lin Chui knew the Lung family. Lin Chui's family was also an aristocratic family from the Yulong continent, and it was one of the most influential families in the country. Lang Yichen's family, Song Zilin's family, Gong Shangjin's family, and Lin Chui's family were all well-known families among the aristocratic families, and they often interacted with each other. Therefore, when Lin Chui saw the old man, she jumped up and down and pretended to be a naive young girl. She reached out and grabbed the old man's arm and said very intimately, "Grandpa Lung, why are you here?" When Lin Chui talked to the old man, she glanced at Yun Jian from the corner of her eyes, as if it was an honor for her to know the old man. The old man was Lang Yichen's biological grandfather and the current master of the Lung family, Master Lung.
Master Long got the news that a girl in the meteor aristocratic school claimed that she was the goddess of witchcraft. Therefore, Master Long hurried to the school with his family. The moment he saw Yun Jian, Master Long felt that Yun Jian was extraordinary, so he stopped her at once. Old Master Long ignored his grandson, Lang Yichen, and granddaughter, Lin Xueqi, who were family friends. His sharp gaze landed on Yun Jian as he asked her in front of everyone, "What do you think? Young lady, are you really the goddess of witchcraft from the Wu family on the Yulong continent?" Master Lang was very excited when he said that, and everyone present could feel his emotions at the moment. As soon as Master Lang asked that question, Lin Xueqi, who was standing next to him, said in a sharp voice, "Grandpa Lang, she's not. I've just asked around. She's not the goddess of witchcraft at all. She's just bluffing." As Lin Xueqi said that, she pointed her nose at Yun Jian and made a few strange sounds. Yun Jian, on the other hand, stopped in her tracks and studied old Master Lang with narrowed eyes. "Are you from the Leng family?" Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. "Yes, I am." Master Lang nodded excitedly. Seeing that Master Lang was talking to Yun Jian, Lin Xueqi was unhappy again. "Grandpa Lang, she's just a swindler. She scared us just now. TSK, we almost thought that she was the legendary goddess of witchcraft. I was wondering how the legendary goddess of witchcraft could look like this." Lin Xueqi was talking again. How could the legendary goddess of witchcraft? Was Lang's heart's eyes? How could it be so exquisite? Lin Xueqi did not want to admit it, but she had to admit that Yun Jian was beautiful. Lin was so beautiful, even she wanted to tear her face was beautiful. How could there be such a beautiful woman in this world? The goddess of witchcraft was already so powerful. If she also had such a beautiful face, how could they still live? Master Lang ignored Lin Xueqi's words. At this moment, in front of everyone, Master Lang was looking at Yun Jian with an indescribable excitement. Yun Jian suddenly smiled. She looked at Master Lang and asked again, "Are you from the Lang family who has been guarding the ancient mythical beast Tao Tai in the northern part of the Yulong continent?" Yun Jian's words confused everyone. What did she mean by the northern part of the Yulong continent? What ancient mythical beast Tao Tai? Are you going to say something to make us think that you're the goddess of witchcraft? Let me tell you, we won't believe you. Lin Xueqi was slightly stunned when she heard that. Then, she quickly reacted and yelled at Yun Jian. However, just when everyone was puzzled, Lin Xueqi's unpleasant yelling was heard. Old Master Lang, who stood in front of Yun Jian, suddenly knelt down in front of Yun Jian like a commoner in Yulong mainland worshipping the sorcerer deity. "Goddess of witchcraft. You're really the goddess of witchcraft. 1,000 years ago, when the Leng family was still in the Yulong continent, we were once indebted to you. The Leng family will never forget the teachings of our ancestors." Chapter 1768. The Leng family had the highest status among all the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Of course, it was only limited to the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Not all the families from Yulong mainland sent their children to Meteor Academy to study. Other than the families of the young ladies and young masters who were studying at the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, who came from the Yulong mainland, there were many other aristocratic families in the southern city of the Jiang province. Of course, the Leng family was the biggest among the families of the students studying in Meteor Academy. Therefore, Lang Yichen was the most popular in Meteor Academy. He was handsome and could be said to be the perfect man in the eyes of these infatuated girls. In the eyes of the students of Meteor Academy, the Leng family was the supreme existence. As the head of the Leng family, Master Lang was undoubtedly the object of everyone's admiration. However, such an object of everyone's admiration was kneeling in front of Yun Jian, who was also a student of Meteor Academy. The surrounding students, including the group of Leng family members behind Master Lang, were all dumbfounded. "Grandpa Lang, how can you kneel in front of her? Even if she's really the witch goddess, how can you kneel in front of her? You're an elder. She should be the one kneeling in front of you." Lin Xueqi was dumbfounded. She never thought that Master Lang would kneel in front of Yun Jian in front of everyone. The people around, including Lin Xueqi, Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, were all dumbfounded. They thought that the excitement on Master Lang's face when he saw Yun Jian was already shocking enough. However,
Master Lang actually knelt in front of Yun Jian. Judging from Master Lang's tone, it seemed that the Lang family had received the witch goddess favor when they were in Yulong mainland. Lin Chui's words were quickly interrupted by Song Zilin. Song Zilin was a smart person. He looked at Lin Chui and coughed twice, then pointed out Lin Chui's words. If she's really the witch goddess, she already existed in this world when our ancestors were still in Yulong mainland. In terms of seniority, Grandpa Lang is indeed younger than her. Song Zilin, Lang Yichen, and Gong Shangjin were good friends and had grown up together. Because aristocratic families interacted with each other and Lin Chui loved Lang Yichen, Song Zilin often ran into Lin Chui. Song Zilin didn't like Lin Chui, so he couldn't help but interrupt Lin Chui. Song Zilin's words were like a slap to Lin Chui's face. That was right. If Yun Jian was really the witch divinity, her seniority would be much higher than old Master Lang's. As soon as Song Zilin's words fell, Lin Chui's face instantly sank. She looked as if she had eaten dog shit, and her whole person was stupefied on the spot. Yun Jian didn't pay attention to what the people around her were saying. She looked at Master Lang who was kneeling in front of her, and continued to ask him calmly. The Lang family of the Yulong continent wasn't in a bad situation back then. Why would the Lang family, who had guarded the ancient divine beast Tao Tai for thousands of years for the Yulong continent, fall to such a state? The Lang family's status and situation in the Yulong continent weren't bad back then, and they were also one of the families that guarded the ancient divine beast. Yun Jian was puzzled because of this. I don't know much about it, but according to the records of our ancestors, ever since the fall of the sorcerer god, a group of mysterious men in black who were so powerful that no one could stop them started hunting down all the aristocratic families who were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe. The Lang family was one of them. Back then, the Lang family was hunted down by the mysterious men in black, and only a few of them were left. The few who escaped alive were the ancestors of the Lang family. Master Lang told Yun Jian everything he knew. Mysterious men in black? So, all the aristocratic families that were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe were killed? Yun Jian frowned. Chapter 1769. Under Yun Jian's questioning gaze, old Master Lang nodded. Yes, it's not just the Lang family. Many noble families who were close to the Wu tribe were also killed by the mysterious men in black back then. Old Master Lang had never experienced these things. It was recorded in the Lang family's genealogy. Therefore his tone was calm when he said that, naturally, he would not feel the same way. Yun Jian nodded slightly and turned to look at old Master Lang who was kneeling in front of her, saying faintly, "You don't have to kneel to me here in the future. I saved the Lang family back then. It was just on the way. You don't have to take it to heart." After that, Yun Jian paused before she added, "Also, you don't have to call me witch goddess when you see me in the future. My name is Yun Jian. You can call me by my name." After Yun Jian said that, she turned to look at Shenbai who was dumbfounded from the start and told her, "Let's go back to the classroom. The class will start soon." Yun Jian's red lips curved into a smile. "Ha. Oh. Okay." Shenbai looked at Lang Yichen blankly before she followed Yun Jian to the classroom, leaving behind the girls who had surrounded Lang Yichen and his friends in a hubbub but were now stunned speechless by what happened to Yun Jian. Just as Yun Jian took 2 steps toward the classroom, old Master Lang suddenly called out to her, "Right, witch goddess." Cough. "Yun Jian, our house is not far from the academy. You're welcome to visit any time." "Amen," Yun Jian hummed softly in reply to old Master Lang. Yun Jian did not turn around. She was already walking to the classroom side by side with Shenbai. "TSK. What are you pretending for? This is Earth. This is our territory. So what if she's the witch goddess? She has no power on Earth." Lin Chui was really annoyed at the sight of Yun Jian. She suddenly recalled that they were on Earth now. So what if Yun Jian was the witch goddess of Yulong mainland? When the people of Yulong continent arrived on Earth, they were not allowed to use spiritual energy. Otherwise, they would be punished. In that case, what else did Yun Jian have to show off? What Lin Chui didn't know was that Yun Jian had been on Earth for so many years, and her influence had already developed to the point where any one of them could make Lin Chui's Lin family disappear from this world. If Lin Chui knew, she would definitely not say that. "Xueqi, stop talking nonsense.
Regardless of whether the sorcerer goddess was her or not, she was still someone that the Lang family respected for generations. Without the sorcerer god, the Lang clan wouldn't exist today. Master Long usually doted on Lin Xueqi, but for the sake of the witch god, he disagreed with Lin Xueqi. Grandpa Lang, even you are saying that about me. Lin Xueqi glared back at Yun Jian, who had gone far away in displeasure before hooking her arm around old Master Lang's and swinging it coquettishly like a spoiled child. In the classroom. Sister Death, I didn't know you were so powerful. Shen Bai looked at Yun Jian with admiration. Go back to your seat. Yun Jian's red lips curled slightly. She didn't reply to Shen Bai, but spoke to Shen Bai instead. Shen Bai's father wanted her to protect Shen Bai, and the descendant of the family who attacked Shen Bai's brother, Shen Shaoqing, wasn't studying at Meteor Academy. She exposed her identity today because she wanted to blow up this matter as much as possible. This way the fish would take the bait. Oh! After hearing Yun Jian's words, Shen Bai instinctively returned to her seat. Meteor Academy usually ended school early, at 3:30 p.m. The school ended at the same time. Ah, look, isn't that our school's hunk, young Master Lang? Oh, why is he in our class? Look, he's actually walking over there. Young Master Lin and young Master Jean are here too. Oh my god, am I dreaming? Chapter 1770. Yun Jian's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she neatly put the 3 textbooks into her bag, zipped it up, and walked in front of Shen Bai. Death God sister, you packed up so quickly? I just saw you bring back 3 textbooks. Have you finished all the homework the teacher gave us? Shen Bai tidied up her homework and asked Yun Jian. The students of Meteor Academy were all rich children. Among the people in the school, there weren't many who entered because of good grades. And these rich children who studied in Meteor Academy never did homework. The teachers couldn't control this. There was no one like Shen Bai and Yun Jian who brought their workbooks back. Yun Jian faintly replied to Shen Bai. Today's homework was very difficult. Death God sister, you actually finished it. As long as they talked about homework, even if Lung Yichen, who she admired, came, she wouldn't pay attention to it. Shen Bai was such a good student who loved to study. It's not difficult. If you don't understand, I can teach you. Yun Jian's red arc hooked as she indifferently said. Okay. At this time, Shen Bai stopped tidying up the homework she brought home and nodded towards Yun Jian. Lung Yichen and the other 2 who were ignored on the side had a long black line in front of their eyes. Especially Lung Yichen. This was the first time someone talked to each other enthusiastically in front of him and ignored his existence. If it was said that when he first saw Shen Bai, he couldn't remember her. But now that she was looking for her homework, Shen Bai, who used to pursue him enthusiastically, but now acted as if she didn't see him, was very abrupt. So Lung Yichen couldn't help but look at Shen Bai a few more times. Hey, this is the first time our young Master Lung has been ignored by a woman. The 2 of you are really amazing. Gong Shangjin, who always had a sloppy personality, walked in front of Yun Jian and Shen Bai and said with a smile. Oh, it's you guys. Shen Bai finally reacted. Lang Yichen and the other 2 actually came to her classroom. My grandfather invited the 2 of you to my house. Especially Yun Jian. Lang Yichen, who took off his sunglasses, was quite good-looking. He glanced sideways at Yun Jian and said, Wow, really? Shen Bai's eyes lit up. At the same time, she hastened to pack her bag. After packing, she hooked an arm around Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian, Sister Death, let's go together. Since Shen Bai wanted to go, Yun Jian naturally followed. The Leng family's villa was slightly different from the Shen family's villa. The Leng family's villa was more antique. Walking into the Leng family's villa, Yun Jian felt like she had returned to Yulong mainland. In the living room of the Leng family's house, Master Lang saw Yun Jian, so he immediately got off the main seat and invited Yun Jian to sit in the main seat. You're here. Please take a seat. The main seat was the seat of the most powerful person in the Lang family. Now that Master Lang gave this seat to Yun Jian, some people in the Lang family who didn't know Yun Jian's identity were dissatisfied. Oh, Who is this little girl? What right does she have to sit in the main seat? A sarcastic female voice sounded. The owner of this female voice was a woman in her 40s. Master Lang had 4 sons. The woman who spoke was the wife of Master Lang's eldest son, Xing Lengleng. Xing Lengleng used to be a selfish woman who would get involved in any matter, no matter how big or small it was. Sister-in-law, don't talk nonsense. I think this little girl looks delicate and pretty, so I like her very much. May I know if you are married? The person who spoke was the wife of Master Lang's second son, Zhang Xueqi. Zhang Xueqi was Lang Yichen's mother, and Lang Yichen was the descendant of the second son of the Lang family. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, a magnetic, rich and pleasant male voice came from the entrance. His tone was domineering with absolute possessiveness. Once he spoke, everyone in the room was taken aback. Chapter 1771. This pleasant voice made the group of women present, who had guessed that the man's voice was handsome, couldn't help but sit up straight. This included Xing Lengleng and Zhang Xueqi, who had been married for years and had grown children. As long as it was a woman, when she heard this voice, she would not be able to stop herself from fantasizing about the owner of this voice, who was so handsome that even the gods would be enraged. What was more, when Ce appeared at the entrance of the Lang residence's living room and made the women gasp and the men feel so inferior that they could not bear to look at his face, everyone was stunned. Who is this? He's too handsome. His looks were simply inhumanly handsome. Xing Lengleng stared at Ce, who had appeared out of nowhere, and wiped away her drool, swallowing hard. On the other side, Ce, who was inhumanly handsome, was making his way to Yun Jian. It was not until Ce came to Yun Jian and pulled Yun Jian up from the main seat and into his arms that he introduced himself with a satisfied smile. Hello, I'm Xiao Jian's legal husband. Ce enunciated the words legal husband clearly, as if he was afraid that the people present did not know that he and Yun Jian were married. If it were not for the inappropriate occasion, Ce would have taken out his marriage certificate again. Cough, cough. You're married. Everyone present, including Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, stared at Yun Jian in bewilderment, their jaws dropping in bewilderment. You're married. Old Master Lang exclaimed in shock as he stared at Yun Jian. The witch goddess was married. The news was so overwhelming that Old Master Lang could not process it for a long time. Amen. Yun Jian nodded in front of everyone and showed the diamond ring on her ring finger to the crowd. The women around them looked at Yun Jian in envy and disbelief. Especially Xing Lengleng. Xing Lengleng was envious. Why had she not met such a handsome man when she was young? Xing Lengleng's husband, who was also the eldest son of the Lang family, had a beer belly. He was not tall nor handsome and reeked of sweat. Xing Lengleng was envious of Yun Jian, so her gaze on Yun Jian became even more hostile. Ce lowered his head slightly, his gaze fixed on Yun Jian without straying an inch away. It had been so long since he saw his Xiao Jian. She had gotten thinner again. It was time to nourish herself. How was she going to give birth to a soccer team for him when she was so skinny? Old master, bad news. Third madam is going into labor. Right at this moment, a servant stumbled into the room and shouted at Master Lang. What? She's about to give birth? Master Lang straightened his back in fear and walked out of the room with the others. The third daughter-in-law of the Lang family was pregnant now, so she couldn't leave the room. But she didn't expect that she would suddenly give birth now. The Lang family was in a frenzy. 3 hours later, Ce hugged Yun Jian and stood not far away from the Lang family's temporary delivery room. Third Madame Lang's screams and cries of agony came from the delivery room. Oh. She had been screaming for 3 hours from the pain of labor. Her voice was getting softer as if she had no energy to scream anymore. Is the baby not out yet? Old Master Lang and Old Master Lang were anxious. Not yet. The baby's head isn't even out yet. I'm afraid the baby can't bear to leave the womb. The midwife said as she ordered the servants to continue preparing the items for delivery, and went to the delivery room. Ce twitched his lips and muttered to himself, not a soccer team anymore. Chapter 1772. Yun Jian was stunned and didn't immediately understand the meaning behind Siyi's words. Shen Bai, who was standing to the side, was anxiously listening to the third madam's hoarse cries in the delivery room and inadvertently overheard Siyi's words. Yun Jian and the other two could have left first, but the third madam of the Lang family, who was currently giving birth, was a relative of the Shen family. Although she wasn't a direct relative, she still had some contact with the Shen family. In the past, the third madam would bring delicious food and fun things for the Shen family's children. The third madam was very kind, and Shen Bai was one of the people who had received the third madam's kindness. Therefore, when the third madam suddenly gave birth, Shen Bai naturally didn't want to leave first. Shen Bai was also a person who knew how to repay kindness. When she heard Siyi's words, Yun Jian was slightly stunned. What do you mean by not giving birth to a football team? Yun Jian was stunned, but she didn't ask. However, Shen Bai, who was standing to the side, heard this and she unconsciously asked on behalf of Yun Jian, "What's a football team? Is there a football team around here? Why haven't I heard of it?" Shen Bai's heart was anxious for the third madam, who was still giving birth in the delivery room, so she didn't think when she said this. A child. Siyi's eyes were fixed on Yun Jian. His tall figure shrouded Yun Jian's right side, and he could see the beautiful side of Yun Jian's face if he lowered his head slightly. These two words were considered a reply to Shen Bai. At this moment, Shen Bai didn't hear Siyi's words at all. She kept looking at the delivery room with an anxious expression. Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, who were standing to the side, clearly heard Siyi's words. A football team equals a child? And Siyi just said that he wouldn't give birth to a football team? This meant, could it be that he originally wanted Yun Jian to give birth to a football team's child? This was something only a sow could do. Cough, cough, cough. I'm going out to get some fresh air. After Song Zilin understood Siyi's words, he couldn't help but cough twice. Then, he turned around and dragged Gong Shangjin, who was still unaware of the situation, out of the room. This was truly torturous. They were about the same age, but she had already thought about how many children she would have in the future. TSK TSK. Lang Yichen didn't go out because his third aunt was still in labor. Yun Jian reacted quickly. Siyi's words, coupled with the reactions of Song Zilin and the others, made Yun Jian's face instantly turn red. Master Lang and the other members of the Lang family who were standing around didn't notice them. At this moment, Yun Jian held Siyi's hand and was about to walk out. Is third brother's wife all right? Could it be a difficult birth? Xing Lengleng, the eldest daughter-in-law of the Lang family, asked at this time. Before Yun Jian and Siyi could leave, the door of the delivery room was opened. Xing Lengleng's jinx came true. The midwife walked out of the delivery room anxiously. Her hands were covered in blood. As soon as the midwife walked out, she said to everyone in a trembling voice, "Hemorrhage, hemorrhage. Third madam is having a difficult birth, and her water has broken. But the child's body hasn't come out yet. What should we do? Master Lung, hurry up and send her to a proper hospital. If it's any later, we can only save one child." The midwife's trembling voice spread throughout the room, but it was an absolute blow to everyone present. WH. What? Difficult birth. Third brother of the Lang family almost fainted when he heard the midwife's words. Then hurry up and send her to the hospital. Hurry. Although Master Lang was also frightened, as the head of the Lang family, he was naturally much calmer. He quickly spoke. Xing Lengleng, who was hit by her own jinx, was so scared that she patted her own mouth and didn't dare to speak anymore. Just when everyone present was panicking and didn't know how to deal with the pregnant woman who was still in labor, a calm but heavenly female voice spread throughout the room. Chapter 1773. Right after Yun Jian said that, old Master Lang's eyes that were filled with despair and dejection flashed with a glimmer of hope. The midwife had been prepared a long time ago. The third madam of the Lang family was getting bigger and bigger and could give birth at any time. So the Lang family had prepared the best midwife. In this era, the hospital technology and equipment were not particularly developed. It was fine if a pregnant woman had a normal delivery, but if she encountered a difficult labor, the chances of survival were almost slim. Of course, the chances of a difficult labor were relatively small, only about 20%. If it was now, if she had a difficult labor, she could immediately be sent to the hospital for a cesarean section. Although there would be a scar on the belly after the delivery, it was better than having her life in danger. In 1999, even if there was something like a cesarean section in this era, few hospitals would carry it out. After all, the technology of a cesarean section was not very good at this time. If they were not careful, it was very likely that both the mother and the child would die. Naturally, the hospital did not dare to try it easily. Therefore, in this era, if there was a difficult labor, unless a cesarean section was performed which had no chance of success, the chances of survival were really pitifully low. And even if a cesarean section was to be performed, it must be done in a regular hospital under normal circumstances. Obviously, at this juncture, the third madam's situation did not allow for any delay. As soon as Yun Jian finished speaking, Master Lang's eyes lit up again. He knew that as the sorcerer goddess, Yun Jian would never say something that she was not confident about. Hey! Are you treating human life as a joke? Xing Lengleng, who had cursed the third madam to have a difficult labor just now, heard Yun Jian's words and became smug again. Ever since Yun Jian appeared for the first time and was invited to the main seat by Master Lang, Xing Lengleng hated Yun Jian very much. The main seat was only for the noblest person in the Lang family. Even the first madam of the Lang family, Xing Lengleng, had never sat there. Yun Jian was an outsider. How could she? Sister Grim Reaper. We all believe in you. You even saved my brother's life. The third madam treats me very well. You must save her. At this time, Shenbai looked at Yun Jian. She put her hands together and looked at Yun Jian with begging eyes. She saved your brother, Shen Shaoqing? Didn't your brother already declare dead? Lang Yichen stared at Shenbai with wide eyes and asked in astonishment. Big brother is currently recovering. Hearing Lang Yichen's question, Shenbai's cheeks flushed red. Alive? She saved him. Xing Lengleng crossed her arms in front of her chest just now. She didn't stop Yun Jian from saving her, but only took the opportunity to mock Yun Jian. It would be best if something happened to third madam and the child in her womb. It would be better if he was dead. Xing Lengleng did not care about third madam's life at all. At this moment, after hearing Shenbai and Lang Yichen's words, Xing Lengleng's face was slightly startled. She was clearly frightened. How could a dead person come back to life? Was that for real? At this time, Yun Jian ignored everyone as she walked straight to the delivery room and said indifferently, "Prepare a set of surgical tools for me and perform the C-section immediately." With the Leng family's influence, it was not difficult for them to obtain these tools. Ce stood where he was, watching Yun Jian walk into the delivery room with a gentle gaze. When his Xiao Jian was pregnant with his child in the future, he would definitely capture all the best midwives in the world and have them be on standby for delivery at any time from the day Xiao Jian was pregnant. He would not allow any hint of danger to exist. At this moment, the best midwives in the world were completely unaware that they were being targeted. Moreover, the person who targeted them would bring them home on the first day of his woman's pregnancy. When the doctors found out that this person had done so, they looked like they had eaten dog sh*t. Brother, other people only prepare midwives when the due date is approaching. Why did you prepare all the doctors on the first day of your wife's pregnancy? Chapter 1774. Ce grinned. It was fortunate that he had come to the Lang family to look for Xiao Jian today, and had even seen the third madam of the Lang family giving birth. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have known that giving birth was such a painful thing. Thinking about how he had wanted Xiao Jian to give birth to a football team for him, Ce felt like smacking himself to death. He would rather be beaten to death than to let his Xiao Jian suffer so much. Young man, it's hard for a woman to give birth to a child. Back when my first wife was still alive, she was in pain for 4 times and left me 4 children. Say, if I had doted on her more back then, I wouldn't have to regret it so much now. Old Master Lang went to Ce and grumbled softly. Then, Old Master Lang turned to Ce. Not knowing Ce's identity, Old Master Lang patted Ce's shoulder and said earnestly, "Young man, you have to pamper your wife more in the future. Don't disappoint me." Old Master Lang's earnest words made Ce's eyes light up.
I don't need your reminder, Ce said with a straight face, not even looking at Old Master Lung. Old Master Lung chuckled at that. That's great. That's great. The witch goddess had a descendant now. Old Master Lung was relieved because he knew that his third madam was absolutely safe with Yun Jian around. Yun Jian would not disappoint Old Master Lung. 2 hours later, a baby's cries were heard and Yun Jian walked out of the delivery room. The midwife's coaxing voice came from the delivery room. Everyone who heard it breathed a sigh of relief. The mother and child are both safe now. Send the mother to the hospital in an hour. The hospital will take care of the following symptoms, Yun Jian said faintly. Even when he knew the outcome, Old Master Lung's tense heart relaxed. Really? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are the benefactor of our husband and wife. Thank you. When Old Master Lung heard Yun Jian say that his wife's life was no longer in danger and the child was born safely, he rushed over to grab Yun Jian's hand to thank her. Before his hand could touch Yun Jian, however, it was slapped away by a large palm. Ce flung Old Master Lung's hand away and said with a dark face, "Don't touch my woman's hand." Ce said this with a straight face, his cold and handsome demeanor sending a shudder through the third son of the Lung family. In the end, Old Master Lung bowed to Yun Jian from afar and thanked him again. After Madame Yun Jian's family, the Leng family's family, Yun Jian. After making sure everything was fine, Yun Jian returned to the Shen family with Shen Bai. Old Master Lung to Yun's a family for a while longer. 4 Yun Jians for him for Yun. She said that she was going to Anhun to look for him. She had said this many times, but Yun Jian never went to Anhun to look for Ce. Although Ce didn't say anything, he was still a little disappointed. It was not Yun Jian's fault though. The time was not up yet. The surprise had to come after the disappointment. Only then would one feel surprised and delighted. As for what Yun Jian's surprise was, it wasn't time yet, so it was a secret. When Yun Jian and Shen Bai returned to the Shen family, they saw Xin Wei's worried expression. Yun Jian couldn't help but narrow her eyes. "You're back." Shen Wei looked at Yun Jian with worry and asked. "Yeah, we went to Grandpa Leng's house as guests. Then, third madam gave birth, so we came back late," Xin Bai explained to Xin Wei. It was already 8:30 p.m., so they came back late. Just as Shen Bai finished speaking to her father, Xin Wei nodded to Xin Bai. "Then we'll go do our homework. We won't make it in time." Xin Bai turned around and held Yun Jian's hand as they ran upstairs. "Wait. Yun Jian, wait, I have something to say to you," Xin Wei suddenly called out to Yun Jian. "What is it?" Shen Bai was stunned. "Bai. Go back to your room and do your homework," Xin Wei urged Xin Bai. Okay. If you can't let me hear it, humph." Xin Bai pretended to be angry and snorted the word humph. When this humph came out of Xin Bai's mouth, it didn't sound like a bad woman's voice. Instead, it sounded cute. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and walked into the study with Xin Wei. "Great witch god. Those aristocratic families that colluded with each other to deal with us suddenly sent me an invitation, saying that they want to invite all the aristocratic families to a banquet." Just as they walked into the study, Shen Wei cut to the chase and frowned as he spoke to Yun Jian. Unexpectedly, when Yun Jian heard this, her eyebrows raised slightly. Chapter 1775. Did they invite all the aristocratic families? Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and asked Shen Wei. "Yes, that includes the Leng family that you went to today." Shen Wei answered truthfully. "Agree, we'll go to this banquet." Yun Jian suddenly turned her head and looked at Shen Wei. Her smile made Shen Wei unable to describe how to describe it. Even Shen Wei himself didn't know when he became Yun Jian's subordinate. Now, the entire Shen family was under Yun Jian's control. "Yes." Shen Wei nodded. Shen Wei had mentioned before that many of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were the descendants of aristocratic families. Now, there was a very common phenomenon. The aristocratic families of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were generally the same as Shen Wei's Shen family. They didn't associate themselves with those aristocratic families. As for those aristocratic families,
They all sent their children to a place called Dark Aristocratic Academy to study. Meteor Aristocratic Academy. Dark Aristocratic Academy. The families of the former students were all on the Shen family's side. The families of the latter students were all in cahoots with those aristocratic families. If you don't cooperate with our aristocratic families, we'll kill your aristocratic families. Therefore there was such a saying before. Which side these aristocratic families stood on depended on which academy they sent their children to study in. Currently, it seemed that the aristocratic families of the students studying in Dark Aristocratic Academy were generally stronger than the Shen and Lang families. Therefore, Xin Wei's son, Shen Xiaocheng, was clearly framed by those aristocratic families who wallowed in the mire. But in order to protect the entire Shen family, Xin Wei forcibly endured it. On Friday, Meteor Aristocratic Academy was on holiday. Many aristocratic families' children were sent to Dark Aristocratic Academy. This time, the aristocratic families that were hostile to the Shen and Lang families set the banquet at Dark Aristocratic Academy. The theme of this banquet was a masquerade ball. Apart from the aristocratic families' children who could participate, all the Meteor and Dark Aristocratic Academy's children who weren't from aristocratic families could also participate. Naturally, they had to dress up before going. Shenbai didn't know the danger of this banquet. She was like an innocent little girl, choosing her favorite dress and carefully dressing herself up. Yun Jian wore a black evening gown that showed off her figure. This exquisite evening gown outlined her perfect figure incisively and vividly. Even from afar, one would be attracted by this perfect figure. This black evening dress was actually a very ordinary dress, but when Yun Jian wore it, there was an indescribable sense of nobility. Many people were already present when he entered the Dark Noble Academy's masquerade ball. Yun Jian and Shenbai each put on a mask and walked into the crowd. At the scene of the masquerade ball, 3 middle-aged men were holding wine glasses in the distance. They were not wearing masks and were chatting with each other. These 3 people were the 3 most powerful and influential families among the clans that wallowed in the mire. They were the Zhu family, the Lan family, and the Mo family. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Lan clan was the most important. Just as Yun Jian narrowed her eyes, Shenbai suddenly pulled on Yun Jian's arm and shouted, "It's them! It's them! Let's go quickly!" You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.